just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Yo, what's up, internet? Welcome back to another episode of Three Averagely Intelligent Dudes discussing dangerous ideas. And damn, it feels good to be back.
Ooh, yes, sir. Certainly does.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
We've been on a little hiatus for about a month and a half. I grew hair. So it just, things have been, changed a little bit. We just had a lot going on, a lot of big projects, a lot of traveling, but a lot
of life.
Yeah.
A lot of life going on the past few months.
Mm-hmm. But we're back and we're in it and we're excited. I mean, dude, I missed it so much.
In it to win it.
Yeah, I missed it so much. A lot of the people too, the fans and stuff reaching out to me too and we're like, yo, can't wait for the podcast to come back and
Same
shit.
here.
So I'm super excited to bring it back to you.
Yeah, it's never going away.
No,
just so you know, it's never going away. Like
we always come back. We're like the Jeffrey. It goes away, but then
It comes back. Yeah.
And
we're never not.
This feels perfectly natural.
Yeah.
Feels like I
that's
never
true.
left.
Yeah, I know, right back. And we got some amazing topics. We caught up a lot on what's going on the internet. And, one of the first things that I had seen, and I was like, damn, I really cannot wait to sit down and talk about this because it's just so multi-layered and so multifaceted conversation going on here. But we sent another person to space.
Yeah, we sent a couple little groups of
couple groups.
billionaires to space.
Yeah, billionaires hitting space now. We got, of course, the race for space going on between the civilian sector now, which is interesting to see. Our parents and stuff saw the nations racing to space, and now we have all these like private citizens. So we're talking about the fact that Jeff Bezos went up in his Blue Origin project. They launched a rocket. He was actually manned the rocket himself. It was him, his brother. Some interesting things. Do you know the whole crew?
The old lady that was part of the original Apollo 11 launch.
And then they had this other seat that was raffled off, essentially, right? It was done as like a fundraiser.
Really?
And it sold for, I don't want to give the wrong figure, but it's millions. But the fascinating thing about this whole thing is that I can't type anymore. But
I've lost all control.
The guy
of my
who,
hands.
just 28 million. It was sold for 28 million.
28 mil.
The guy who paid for the seat had to reschedule it for a future endeavor because he had scheduling conflicts.
What?
That is...
How do you pay 28 million for a trip and then be like, you know what? I can't go on that trip anymore. Like, I don't care if it's into space. If you're going anywhere you're going, that is the most important thing on your schedule. You pay 28 million to be there. I need to know what this man had to do. Dude, what else were you doing that was going to take precedence over going to space? It was wild.
Because now he's not, like, he literally just missed out on, like, the Buzz Aldrin moment. And the
100.
Neil Armstrong moment to, like, be on, like, one of the first civilian-led missions into space. Like, now you're not on that anymore. You're just the guy who paid for the seat and didn't go.
I'm tripping on how much he paid, too, because if you look at, like, what's the median income of a family in America? Like, $60K or some shit?
Something like that,
Think about how many American family year allowances of revenue, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It takes for you to just be like, yeah, and that's just to pay for the seat. Then to say... I'm sorry.
I'm not going to pay.
I have a very important schedule.
Oh, shit.
That's the crazy part.
That's so lit. I want to know so bad. The guy stayed anonymous, and you can see why. As we're going to get into with the rest of this subject. But, yeah, he remained anonymous. So instead, they sent the youngest person ever to space. He was 18 years old. Yeah, he just took his spot instead. I don't know why. Like, they picked him. I mean, this kid's a badass.
He's one of their kids?
I have no idea. I didn't see anything like that. It wasn't like so, because like you said, that other chick is tied to it because she was like one of the first some involved in Apollo 13, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah, she was like an aerospace person.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some big long backstory about that. A couple people have done articles on that.
Right.
Cool. It's good to have some experience on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's never been to space. It was like her now she finally gets to go to space. And she's like 87.
She knows about getting into space.
Yeah. She knew. Well, Jeff
She
Bezos
was at
knows how to
Houston.
make
At
that
least they
money.
brought somebody who knew what the
That's the thing. Like, you call it like we manned the mission, but it's like they're not really flying the rocket.
Sure.
You know, like the people on the ground are flying the rocket. So you're just kind of strapped in for the ride.
Did you get to watch any of the footage from inside of either one of the? Because there was the Virgin one too.
There was the Virgin
Branson.
one. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too. You know, because there's the whole race we were talking about, the space races between Richard Branson and Virgin. He has like a Virgin rocket company.
Virgin Space.
Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos, and of course
SpaceX.
Elon Musk, who's got SpaceX. Yeah. So, you know, which is interesting because Elon's never manned. I don't even know.
He's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when they talked about Branson, they talked about how all three they were going to go like bing bang boom.
Yeah.
The Three Stooges were going to go up there and float for 2 minutes.
There was
his
that kid's name.
Yeah.
What was his name? Oliver Damon.
Yeah.
An aviation pioneer and Mercury 13 veteran Wally Funk.
Yeah.
Wally Funk
was the other
lady.
Was it the lady? Yeah.
But it's cool. This dude's a badass. I mean, like I say, he's 18, but supposedly he'd already graduated from like high school and was doing some college and like had some like aviation credits and all this stuff. Like he's
makes me wonder why
boss.
they didn't just pick him to begin with.
Yeah.
Maybe because he didn't have $28 million.
I was gonna say, because he wasn't, Jeff Bezos doesn't look at that rocket and think like, oh, I wonder how much thrust it takes to break into the. He's like, how much can I charge people to fly this thing into space?
I bet you when they were showing him the plans for like the cockpit and where they were all gonna sit, he was like, there's a lot of space back there. We could probably put another chair.
We could probably get another guy in.
You think
there.
I could sell a chair? They were like,
I'll give him the small token because I don't really know what this means, but it was for charity. He supposedly donated the money. So
yeah, I mean, I've heard that. He just gave like $200 million away to a bunch of different charities recently. Mm-hmm. So it's like
there were charities geared towards like space and space.
Yeah, probably covering people's scholarships or space camp for little kids or something
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, cool. So that was the T. The other guy who paid the $28 million. He's gonna ride a later flight, and this kid went.
See, he's smart actually. You know what? I think this man is smart.
Yeah.
He got in on the ground floor and then was like, when there's something for me to do up there, I'll come back for that rain check. And he's like, when it's, I'll get in. I got my ticket. It's already good to go.
Locked in.
I don't have to worry about getting like shysted.
He was just waiting until like the controversy of rich people going to space wasn't such a controversy anymore. Yeah. Because right now there's gonna be pictures of him, and he was like,
nah, I
don't want people knowing.
I was anonymous for a reason. Like,
they're gonna show up in my home in Greenwich, Connecticut, and fucking burn my door down. Like,
you rich bastard.
Yeah, when they start eating the rich, he does not want to be on the top of the list.
He's smart for that.
Smart man.
Smart man. Yeah.
So yeah, he wants the ride, but he doesn't want the press. But that I think is a legitimate like supposition, right? Because there is a lot of backlash going on right now for Jeff Bezos for Jeff Bezos doing this whole
he's
project.
Not a popular guy right now.
No, people do not fuck with this. So here's the tweet that I saw that I mentioned that I was like, yo, y'all wildin'. This Kristen Johnston, she's a actress and seems to be like an activist of some sort from her Twitter and whatnot. But she goes, what would have actually been big dick energy if he cleared every teacher's Amazon lists. So, okay, like that's cool. But it was interesting criticism because it's always like that. It's like as soon as you start doing something in the world, everybody wants to be like, well, this is what you should be doing instead. And it's like, man, well, how is that criticism warranted? Like I don't really.
If I had a Twitter and I saw this tweet, I would have replied with, what would have been really cool and helpful if you cleared some of those teachers' Amazon
You see what
lists.
I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Like there's nothing stopping you from you doing that as well. So it's like, I get what she's saying. Like money can always be used for other sources, like for other things. And some of those things you could say are morally more applicable than others or more righteous or whatever you want to put it. But like that you saying that, even if you were like had a conversation with Jeff Bezos, like, you really could have just did
but
this.
See, that's
like, but
that's what Twitter is amazing for, because that conversation would never go down.
No, of course
like
not.
You would never walk up to your homie and be like, you know what, I think instead of buying that McMuffin, you really could have, I thought of this analogy while we were talking about this. I think it's so hilarious. Like imagine just busting up in a church and being like, see y'all giving those tithes away, but what those tithes could really be used for is these starving children over here, or this, rebuild the home project. Instead, y'all are giving your money to God. It's like
you're gonna build a bigger church.
I'm just saying, like, it's interesting when you get into that bracket of like billionaire or start to close in on it, like your level of reproach is different. Like
Yeah.
the things you're open to criticism.
Yeah, it's
for
definitely
is-
once you hit billionaire status, it becomes different because now you're like a government.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like,
true,
if you want to
That's
complain
true.
about what's going on with your money, being that you are taxed by the government, valid concerns.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like,
It's an
hey,
involuntary thing.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, my tax dollars are going towards this, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
You don't pay taxes to Jeff Bezos. Now, if you want to say that Jeff Bezos doesn't pay enough taxes, another valid concern.
Cool.
Yeah, we can have
that's
that
a conversation. That's
We
a
can
good
have that conversation. But when Jeff Bezos collects his value beans, you can't tell him what he can and cannot do with his value beans, because then we're starting to get into the private restrictions where it's like, well, what if they came to you and said, well, John, you've got $200 in your pocket. You have to spend $24 on charity.
You know what I mean?
Or we're going to shut you down.
You know what I'm
Like,
saying? That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And it's interesting that you brought up the idea of like when you get to like billionaire status, you're kind of like at that, like, you know, like you start getting to like that governmental level and stuff. But I actually saw this thing. Reason TV was saying that if you confiscated all of the wealth of every billionaire in America, you could fund the government for about 6 months.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, it makes sense though. Their budgets are like 22 bill or
It's
trill,
ridiculous,
like $1
yeah.
trillion a year.
718 trillion in
yeah,
2020
so
for just
that's-
the defense.
That makes a lot of sense. But
When you
at
put
the
it into
same
that
time,
perspective.
that's against America. Like there's some billionaires out here that do have more money than entire countries. You know, so
Jeff Bezos has more money
Hey.
than lots of countries.
So
yeah,
I mean, you know,
but MBS and those motherfuckers, they don't have to tell you how much money they have. Some of
Very
these
true.
Saudi princes and shit like that,
True.
Mohammed bin Salman, they have more
Undisclosed.
billions. They could literally be trillionaires, and we would not know.
Yeah.
And there's a very likely possibility that the Saudi royal family has over $1 trillion.
Collectively, I would not be surprised if that was the case. Yeah.
and I can see how they're a really big rock. So if you throw that really big rock in the pond, you know, it's going to create a lot of ripples for everybody else. And so I could see where you could stretch and say, well, this is of a concern to me. You know, like I said, what you do with your money has very tiny effect on what happens in my life. But
Right.
this man, like it could really change a lot of things for you. So I can see how you could criticize. But I want to bring this other tweet that I saw, and then I want to make this interesting point. But Tulsi Gabbard, who is Tulsi Gabbard?
Tulsi Gabbard is the representative from Hawaii. I believe she's she's no longer in.
She's retired. When she lost the primary for the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party in 2020, she retired. Now she does like she's like still an activist and she's kind of involved, but she's just not in politics. She's not holding a seat of office.
So she's a former congressional member.
Yes.
And she got kind of like a lot of extra clout for running in the presidential race. That's
Oh yeah,
why
going on Joe
yeah,
Rogan
the
too.
name.
She was
Yeah,
one
she
of the.
got really big.
She was one of the
there
people
at
that went on
end.
Rogan, which you know Bernie and her were like the only two real candidates that went
Andrew
on Rogan.
Yang went on there.
Oh right, yeah, Yang too. Yeah, he's legit.
Well, this is what she had to say. The only problem I have with Bezos' Blue Origin space rocket ship into outer space is that it's going to come back. I mean, I felt like
It's kind of harsh.
it's harsh. It's harsh. And I get it. It's Twitter and everything. But this is why I can't really fuck with Twitter. Because I'm like, this is the type of shit you'll say to other people.
Twitter
like,
fingers.
you
It's fucking Twitter fingers. Tulsi Gabbard is not going to kill
He's got
Jeff Bezos.
TFS, Twitter finger syndrome.
Bro, like, what did he do to you? What did he do to you that you want him to be lost in space forever? Like, you
And
want,
like, if we want to really talk about class divides, well, Tulsi Gabbard, you make a lot of money.
Like, she lives in a very nice
If-
cabana beach house in Hawaii.
If I knew your name and saw you on TV on the Democratic, nomination stage, like, you're making good money, Tulsi. Like, come on.
I
Like,
just-
you
the
might
funny-
not be making Blue Origin space dick money,
Yeah.
but you're definitely making
The
good money.
funniest thing about this, though, is that when Jeff Bezos goes into space and starts living in a lavish space mansion with all of his rich friends, they're going to be complaining that he left us here on shitty Earth or something like that. They're going to be like, God damn, those rich people left Earth.
Point. Great fucking point. When they decide to go up there and stay up there and colonize space,
Without
we're gonna be
you.
like those goddamn
damn it,
colonizers.
see, we knew it. We knew y'all weren't gonna come back for us.
Sons of bitches aren't coming back.
I deserve my spot. I deserve my spot up in
Lies.
space.
And then
Damn, I
Jeff
never thought about
Bezos
that.
if he's smart, he'll come back and be like, "Well, you didn't want me to come back,
Tulsi.
so I
Yeah.
just said fuck it and I stayed."
Damn, it actually almost makes some of the criticism seem warranted. You're all like, how I really know you're gonna come back for me. How I know this ain't just like a billionaire play project, and then But I get the criticism. I get if you want to be like, a lot of people have brought up the fact, not just with Jeff, but with Elon and all of them, that like we have so many problems here on Earth and like so many things that people feel are discombobulated and could be solved through these people's money. And then but instead they're spending it on what they deem to be like fun activities for them. Like, oh, you just wanted to go to space, and so you're spending your money to go to space when you're not really solving or addressing issues here. So I get that criticism. I'm not like mad at it. Jeff actually acknowledges it, and I'll bring it up in a second. But so I get that. But this is so whack to me, and just so like unwarranted and it's just kind of like I said, you would never say these types of things to people in person. Like if you met this person, you wouldn't just be like, I hope you get lost in space. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
I hope you don't come back from space, Jeff Bezos. It's nice to meet you.
And it's like no matter how you justify that statement, like you can say all the bad things about Jeff Bezos that have ever been said about Jeff Bezos. You are advocating what it appears to be like, I hope you die.
A cruel,
unusual
death.
You can't just live in space, Tulsi Gabbard. We don't have the resources.
The rocket was supposed to be up there for 10 minutes. So if you get lost, there's not like there's a lot of like resources there for you to like work with, you know? And so it's cruel and unusual punishment that you're wishing on these people. Not to mention there was like 4 other people with him that have nothing to do with being rich.
Yeah,
so,
like I really hope you don't bring that 18-year-old college student back with you. You fucking
like one
prick.
of our brightest young youth, and you're like, I want
to see the same energy going to Richard Branson and Elon Musk because both those motherfuckers are flying to space.
Sure
Richard Branson already flew to space. Yeah. By the way, his rocket ship way fucking cooler.
Is it?
Jeff Bezos' rocket ship.
Yeah.
What he did is he had a special big ass plane built. And he stuck his plane underneath its belly like a little baby bird, flew it up, detached, flew the baby bird into space, then glided home. And the little baby bird is.
5, 4, command engine start. 2.
This one looked like a big penis, though. It does.
Yeah, this is the Bezos dick rocket.
I can't lie and say that shit don't look like a big penis, though, for sure. The way this thing landed was sick, though.
Shit looks CGI.
Shit looks CGI than a motherfucker, bro.
You are going to space. 3, 2, 1. Release, release, release.
There's Virgin.
Clean release.
Baby bird.
Ignition.
Damn, that's cool.
Okay, now wait a minute. This is way dope.
Did they call it Little Bird?
No. I
thought I heard her say that. There you go, Little Bird.
She might have said, yeah.
See, Jeff Bezos went like classic NASA looking, and Richard Branson looks like the genius he is. He was like, we don't need all that weight and fuel. Why don't we just build a plane? Mach 3. God damn, that thing is going fast.
And
that's tight, dude.
Badass.
Burn, folks. We are headed to space. And the passengers
It's like
in the back
wow.
cleared to
it's like the top of a Kool-Aid jammer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh shit! Too funny.
The Kármán line.
Let's see him land.
28,000 feet.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Richard Branson on space.
Is it everything you thought it would be? What a fucking creepy ass thing to say.
They throw Skittles at each other.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream, looking up
Bezos,
to the
right?
stars.
Yeah, listen to you.
Now I'm an adult in a spaceship with lots of other wonderful adults looking down to our beautiful, beautiful Earth. To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Hey!
Our booster is about to return to its landing pad. There we see engine relight.
He was like, ah, fuck it, I'm not leaving this sheet. This is dope.
Ooh, that is fucking.
Oh wow.
This is dope.
That looks like a virus.
This shit look like Star Wars, bro.
Nah, it's literally built exactly like a virus. It's got the same little legs, the same little top. That shit is mad spooky, dog.
What was that movie where
on board.
It was like a white blood cell fighting with a vitamin. It was like an animated movie.
Oh, I know. Jones, Osmosis Jones.
Osmosis Jones. Yeah, it looks kind of like that. Like, you know.
Deployed. Here are the main
There's
reefing and coming to full.
Lame.
Okay, so this is Jeff
Richard,
Bezos.
yeah, lame.
Come
on.
That was the
That's
booster.
true. His other one could fucking
Touchdown.
fly away if it wanted to, but this one's just kind of floating down.
That was the booster. This is the human. Because remember the booster let them go. And
That's some real 1970s energy
Wow.
right there.
hey, that shit's landed gracefully. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
It was
like-
just hey.
Look at this. This man just fucking drops
He
the
just-
wheels and just fucking lands this bitch.
No way. He just comes back in like a plane.
Wow.
Shit looks like a flying car.
Main gear
Look at
touchdown.
him. He's just chilling.
Damn.
Dude,
That's tight.
that's so much more badass.
Can he reuse those boosters? The other boosters?
I don't even
that
know if
sets
they
them
come
up?
off. I think it's just shoots out that
No,
much.
I think he's talking about like the plane part.
Yeah, the plane part that
Yeah,
they
of
left
course he can
behind.
reuse
Yeah, because that didn't even have boosters. That was just a plane
was just a plane
flew
to
really
Get them
high.
up there.
Yeah, and then he
they
just
boost from there.
Shot off, yeah.
I'll tell you what, Richard Branson's shit definitely looks more like a commercial airliner for space, right? Like based on like a traditional, like if you were like, yo, you want to get on this thing or you want to get on this thing, I would be like, I'm gonna get on this.
I'm gonna get on the Richard Branson.
This
You
thing
know
is
what?
gonna
I've never seen
private
videos
jets
of
to space.
anything that looks like Richard Branson's blowing up at the launch pad. I've seen many videos of things that look like Jeff Bezos is blowing up on the launch
Elon
pad.
had a couple of them too.
Also,
But
just
that's what I'm
like
saying. His look just like that though.
Yeah.
They look like rockets.
I would just rather get in something that looks like a bird. A bird is friendly than something that looks like a virus, just like landing on a
That
body.
shit look like a private jet to space, dude.
Yeah,
badass. That was badass.
Definitely doesn't look affordable. I'll tell you that.
No, it does not.
But in time, you know what I thought was the interesting though, like to get back onto what I was talking about with these tweets and the criticism that I've seen out here about them is when we were talking about in what 1960s. I'm about to show my dumb assness here. 1950s when we went to space the first time when the
it was
great space rest.
69
69.
or 67, one of those.
Because he said he wanted to do it by the end of the decade.
The viewers
Took
are
him a
like,
couple
these
extra years.
dumbasses don't even know when we went to space.
It's because we didn't fucking go.
We didn't actually go, bro. The Van Allen belt. Look it up.
I'm gonna keep us factually correct here. It was 1961 is when they sent the first human to space. Sputnik was 1957. So it was
Moon
the
landing
60s.
in 69.
Yeah, it was the 60s. So, anyways, but that great space race, right? Now you have two nations, like I said, going against each other and this and that, and the world was on fire. They just could not be any more celebratory, right? It was just like, America's so great. Like, we're going to space, bitches. Like, hell yeah. And you had nothing but support for it. Like, people were just like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. And why don't we have that same energy now? You know, and these people are just pushing the boundaries of that and maybe even making it accessible for us. But I think I came to a solution, or just an idea about it, was when you were talking about taxes, right? Taxes. The difference is when America went to space, you went to space.
Yeah,
like
you were
that
patriotically saying, "Fuck
yeah, like I
America!"
went, like my squad, my team. I'm from LA.
That's
the
my
Lakers
flag.
won it. You
Yeah.
know, like this is my shit. We did that. When you see Jeff Bezos do it, it's just like, God damn it, I paid for that and I didn't get nothing. I don't even get my name on that shit. Like, I that's just what I think. But it's so interesting to see the difference in.
Well,
like,
I think
how the-
maybe one kind of looks like what they're doing. People view it through a lens of exploitation.
Yeah.
And they're like, this boss is just using his money
Yeah.
to go run up here and do this fucking fuckery.
True.
Because, I mean, like, they don't really, did they have a mission or were they just trying to be like, yo, look, we can bring anybody up.
Yeah,
here,
like
you know?
we can do it. Like this, like look, we can.
It's
do
kind
it.
of like a ceremonial thing almost. Like it's like it's not like those are the test pilots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
I feel like a lot like our first race was that way too. It was just like who can get the furthest, fastest.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't like
I mean, that's true.
we
Like,
were
we
doing
went-
anything.
If
yeah.
we,
it wasn't exploitative,
Go
though.
to the
That's
moon, and then didn't do anything there. We took some pictures, videos.
We got some rocks.
You know, we took some rocks back, put a flag up,
Yeah.
said, all right, we're going home. So, but there was a lot more in the context of that. And I think that one of the things that we can't remove from this is that there was a lot of one, people were just way more patriotic back then, and so the fact that it was like America going to space tied into that patriotism. But also, we were going to space against a nuclear enemy, and
there you go.
During those times, it was
There you go.
very wide. Like, you could talk to like some of your parents or your grandparents if you're not that old, but like they will tell you that they were very worried that the nuclear holocaust was going to happen.
Oh yeah, it could have happened any day.
And it could have happened. Like, it was very close to happening on a number of occasions.
At least felt that way.
So, and all this propaganda about beating the Soviet Union. And so, like, us going to space, us going to the moon and all this stuff was seen as a victory for the country against this horrible foreign adversary.
It's true.
And so all of that plays into it. Whereas now it's just like the head of a corporation is going to space. And from the outside, it looks like, well, like you said, it's just like a ceremonial thing. Like, he said he's always wanted to go to space. Him and his brother, they go to space. Richard Branson's always been into flying and going higher and whatever. So it's like, it just seems on the surface like this, like an ego play. Like, oh yeah, like, look at me. Like that one tweet said, like, big dick energy. Like, I'm out here in space, bitch. What you gonna do about it? Which I'm not saying it's not that, but I'm saying that it could be the beginning of something else.
Yeah.
Like, somebody has to be the first people to go into space if we're going to put private citizens into space.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And why wouldn't it be the CEO of the company who's trying to put people in space being the first person to
You
do
made
that?
another cool point too, where you were talking about how, like, it was patriotic back then. Like, it was more patriotic, and it's like even though we got up there and could have been like, fucking suck it, Russia, fuck you, Reds, look what we did. They were like, one small step for man, one giant leap for all of us.
Yeah.
For mankind.
Yeah.
And it was so they
included
really
you.
did. Get up there and be like, this ain't just America first. This is like the world
For all of us.
For all of us,
Yeah.
like.
But Jeff Bezos
It was kind of
never-
altruistic, but I thought that was like an interesting point to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're trying to do that now too. They're like
Richard
trying to
Branson
be like, yo,
certainly
it's
had
for
a-
everybody. But to lead into your point, I think that's you forgot to seed in the fear before you went. Like, you can't just roll up into Iraq because you need more gas. You gotta show yellow cake, and they didn't show enough yellow cake before they went on these grand adventure. Because that's, if you notice one thing about us masses, if we're gonna get like convinced to get on board with something, we have to fear the other alternative.
We have
right?
to be propagandized.
Right. Like, you only want to go to space if you fear the other guy's gonna go up there and fuck you up.
You need to push us, put some sort of pressure,
Right,
give
pressure
some-
on us, and then we'll be like, oh, you're doing great, you're saving us, And I think that's what you see a little bit in the difference too. Is like, there's no fear here. Now we're just like, oh, y'all are just fucking around out there. It's like, no, we're doing some serious shit. Serious shit for, just like we created an antivirus for a virus that hadn't existed yet. You got to be ahead of the game with this shit. You gotta be
Can't
ready.
wait till
You
it's time
can't
to
wait
leave.
I wonder how
the
different the
virus shows
messaging
up.
would have been if it was like, oh, we're going up to space along with a crew that's on a mission that's trying to do this specific task. We would have been like, yeah, that's cool. You're doing a ride along with your rocket ship. Like, if he was up there, like,
That's true.
We're just checking out near Earth asteroids and like seeing if there's any, like, testing some shit. Like, we're gonna shoot some flares out and push them away. Whatever the fuck it is. Which, by the way, we can't do any of that shit. That movie was with Bruce Willis was bullshit. If there's something coming to hit us,
You
like,
can't nuke it out of it.
we're just dead, yo.
Yeah, they
Like,
should have just gone with aliens are coming. What I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's the easiest way to. Everybody have been like, hurry, Jeff Bezos. What can we do to help?
Well, interesting you say that, because aliens is a topic that I was thinking about bringing to the podcast that's
Yeah.
been very big in the news in the past,
Really?
I'd say, year, if not just the past few months.
They are
Yeah.
coming.
They're
Because-
here, bro.
It's not.
It's like-
It's not aliens that have been in the news for the last year.
UFOs.
It's the fact that the government has come out and said, we acknowledge that there are things that we don't know out there, and they're not accounted for.
But like those things that are out there are just
wild.
blatantly fucking aliens.
Wild.
That's true.
Like, blatantly aliens. Like, they don't have
make our
heat.
rockets look like fucking kitty toys made out of wood.
Yeah, you can't just take a fucking ball and just have it hanging out in the air with no heat coming out of it, no propulsion, no nothing, and then have it just spin.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Go
Yeah.
from 60,000 feet to 1
It was
feet above the ocean.
it was like 80,000 to 20,000 in 1 second.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, that is not a drone. That's not China.
So,
It's crazy. But my criticism to Jeff Bezos is what about the ocean?
Stop. I'm getting excited. Don't talk to me about
made
the
this
ocean.
That's all I'm
point
saying.
so
Like,
many
I love
times.
space. Space is unexplored. We don't know what's out there, and we might need it one day. But you also don't know if you're living on top of aliens right now.
Cthulhu's.
The most advanced element the world's ever seen could be Cthulhu. Atlantis could be down there. We could be just like your secret to space could be right there at the bottom of your own ocean, and you're not even trying to get down there.
You could get
know?
down there, find a species of octopus that seeded all the other species of octopus that's panspermic from a fucking asteroid that came from Mars. We don't know.
Dude, it's
we don't.
crazy.
You don't know.
You know what I
Never been
mean?
there.
You've
Like,
never been
completely
down there.
overlooked.
I
We've
saw-
completely overlooked 67% of our planet.
I saw a lobster the other day. This man was holding a regular lobster he usually catches, and then a lobster he caught that was like probably over 100 years old. And this fucking lobster was like as big as a Great Doberman, like a Great Dane. And I was just lost in it. I was like, these are dinosaurs down there, bro. And we don't go down and look for dinosaurs.
Imagine,
Why not?
Imagine going on vacation, but you still have a closet in your house that you've never opened the door to. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Nobody
you
goes
would
in the
never,
basement.
like,
Yeah,
what's
nobody-
in there? Oh, we don't know. We've never been in there.
It's actually too dark, so we just don't go in there.
I love how I was watching something. I can't remember if it was on a podcast, but this guy was saying, like, he was talking about the periodic table. Oh, you know what? It was on Max Legru. I don't know how to say his last name. Some guy's podcast. It's like the Genius Life podcast. And he had this guy on talking about water. Like, he's like the guy who invented reverse osmosis or whatever. And he was saying, like, he made this statement. He was like, yeah, he pointed to the periodic table of the elements, which he brought for some reason. And he was like, there's nothing in the universe not made from these elements. Like, this makes up everything in the universe. And I was like, but you don't know that.
Not
Because you
yet.
haven't been there.
Y'all add shit to that list all the time.
Yeah, like, how long ago was it before there wasn't certain things on that list?
There's man-made stuff, and if you can make it as a man, it's natural. So I mean, it could be made out there.
You came from something. You
Yeah.
made it out of something.
So, yeah, they have this very, and I think that's just because the stars call to us as a species for some reason. You know, like that was
'Cause you
like
can see
TV back in the day. Like you could like look up at the stars. And,
Yeah, because you can see it.
yeah, and yeah, it's because you could see it. Everybody could see it. But, you know, really only if you live near the ocean did you give a shit about the ocean. And even then, it's not like you were going deep in the ocean. Like you were just there on the coast, like getting shellfish and shit.
And for anybody who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about right now, like, you might just be like, well, what do you mean, though? Like,
The Titanic. We went to the
we
Titanic.
be in the
wreck.
ocean all the time. Here's a statistic for you. This is from oceanservice.noaa.gov. So it's .gov, baby. You never know. It must be.
It's official. It's official propaganda from the government.
More
flat
than
earth
80,
propaganda.
more than 80% of our ocean is unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. Much remains to be learned from exploring the mysteries of the deep. Never been seen. Not just like we don't go there often, or you just 80% of this planet. No human being in the history of ever has seen it.
And that's not even we haven't even touched on the surface of like what civilizations got flooded out.
What else happened? You know, like if it's that deep and that old and that part of us, it's part of us. You know what I mean? Like it's like when people say like, don't try and fix Russia when we have problems in the United States. You know, so I get what they're saying. Like you're looking outwards into an expanse of a great expanse. Like don't get me wrong. You know, it could be anything out there, but you got to wade through a lot of unknown and just void. We got that right here. We got a lot of void,
We
and
got
it's
plenty
going
of
to take
unknown
just
void.
the same amount of science and ingenuity to figure out how to get the fuck down there and see what's cracking. Because you still can't convince me that there's not some shit underneath me living like a hollow earth type situation or something. Like, you know, I mean, I'm just saying.
Hey, look,
Technically,
You
the
don't
ocean is underneath you.
I mean, you just don't know. Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. It's
Go
everywhere.
deep enough down.
It's everywhere. Not to mention, we
Are
said
we all on islands? Wait, what are you talking about?
You don't know this? Oh yeah, this is totally true.
The groundwater. Yeah.
Tectonic plates, bro. We float
Yeah.
around on top of the ocean.
Yeah, well, I guess there's groundwater too, so it's like there's
Yeah, like
water
aquifers.
underneath us. Yeah, and all water is like kind of connected, right?
Yeah.
Because it like
In some way.
evaporates and then comes down.
Mycelium.
And,
Yeah, of course.
This is the mycelium, bro.
It's
The
the
water,
mycelium
the
network,
water
bro.
psyllium.
80% of 71% of the Earth's surface. So it says only Earth's surface, so maybe we're not completely on top of water, but that's crazy. I mean, and 97 of it's in the ocean. So I mean, we're mostly water. And that's mostly the shit we don't know anything about. And it seems like a stretch to be trying to go beyond this already.
It's also something that we have adapted to survive. Like humans were adapted to, like, if you drop a baby in water, it's going to hold its breath.
Yeah, it can figure it out.
It will close its eyes. It'll hold its breath. So it's like, obviously they can't swim because they're fucking babies, but they have a natural instinct to be like, you know what I'm saying?
There's no more oxygen.
Yeah, I can't breathe in this.
So that speaks to some sort of evolutionary trigger. You know, like much the same way, like a animal that's a hunting animal can learn to hunt just like naturally.
Yeah.
Like humans can just swim. We can float. We can
Cannot
figure
do that shit in space.
You cannot do that in space. However, you can do that in water. So it would only make sense. Like, this is not our natural habitat, but it's part of our natural realm. Space seems very unnatural. Seems very unnatural.
Well,
to
not
me.
only that, but like when people
Hostile.
talk about how like, well, we're all African when you need to get down to it, because that's where like humans originated, or I mean, from whatever Africa was at the time, like Pangea. But it's like, well, really, we're all fish if you want to use that logic, because technically all life started in the ocean. So we're all phytoplankton technically.
You're not a black guy. You're a fish.
Shut up, fish boy.
But
That's funny.
what a lot of people use for the pro space exploration argument is very compelling as well. Like, let's not get to like almost the ocean thing is like a joke, but let's be realistic here though. Like, this is it. Something comes, which could happen at any moment. We act like we're in such a secure location. Like, there's asteroids surrounding you by the millions. Like you said, aliens touching down, cruising through every single day, right? So, like, it only takes one cosmic incident.
Yeah.
Fuck your oceans.
Yeah.
Your ocean's gone too. Like, fuck what you knew or didn't know about the ocean.
Doesn't matter. We evaporated.
Wiped clean. All that wiped clean. So
when there's only like a quadrillion ton mega bomb going off constantly, just a few planets away from us.
What scares me is like now I feel like being on Earth is like being in a car with no insurance.
That's exactly what
I'm
it's
just
like.
waiting for the fucking
dead ass. That's exactly what it's like.
aliens are gonna roll
Incident
by and
could
just
happen
run
at
my
any
tags.
We're gonna pull this planet over.
Dead ass. Not to mention another planet could just be doing 70 in the
The T-Bone
swipe the fuck out of you.
Just listening to fucking Despacito as loud as they can.
And then they're gonna be like, "Well, you didn't have insurance, so it's your fucking fault."
Texting and shit. We're gonna have to enslave your species now because you guys didn't get the fuck out of our way.
Oh, that's so funny.
Dude, dead ass. So I mean, I get it. Like when they say, like, you know, like you do have problems now, you know, but that would be the greatest thing about an alien invasion or anything like that, right?
Unify us, yeah.
It unifies immediately. Everything you thought was like a big problem is not even remotely an issue to you anymore, you know? And so I get them. They're trying to go for the upper highest level problem that you can think of, you know, which is kind of where I want the people with the upper highest level resources focused on, right? Like, you're a billion. I can't solve space, all right? Like I literally cannot do that.
Nobody's making.
I can clear a teacher's Amazon list today. I will. Tulsi Gabbard, I fucking will. You know, so I mean, like you said, Tulsi Gabbard, she making pretty decent money. That's a problem that she could get her hands really dirty in. You ain't touching space though, so it's like leave space to the motherfuckers who can touch the James Bond villains of the world.
I made this point earlier before we had started recording to John, and I was talking about how I really like that there's all these rich people out here to pay for all this expensive shit before it comes down to us and it's cheaper. Because I was like, you know, back in the day, millionaires were the only people with refrigerators.
Yeah.
And they were the only people with AC.
Cars.
And they were the only
Anything.
people with medical care. And so, like,
So true.
flat screen TVs.
Damn.
Like, I remember when they were like $10,000 and they really weren't even that flat. So it's like, you need people with lots of money to fund these new innovative things, and so that they can keep making them better and better and cheaper, because like if you want us to be able to escape this planet if it becomes too uninhabitable or whatever, you're going to need the rich guys to have invested tons of billions of dollars into that before it comes to us, because otherwise, I mean, you just cannot tax that, but like just not enough.
Shit, hey, the shit needs a hill to roll down. You know what I mean? It needs a hill. So no, that's such a good point, man. And that's what I really feel like is happening here. I think that people who are throwing that shade aren't really looking past just like the
The ego shit.
of this headline, you know,
Yeah.
because like we all talked about it, it's ceremonial and all that stuff. We get it, it's useless, it's all, but there's got to be stepping stones to the shit. You got to have tests, you got to have. I mean, I'm almost on the train of like, hey, big kudos to you for putting your own shit on the line for it, rather than
Facts.
like putting
Just
somebody
sending
else
some dude,
in the
yeah.
you know,
In
and
case
being
something
like,
happened.
you know what I mean? Like, so in the way that's like taking on a responsibility because there was a lot of risk involved, and
Shit blows up.
and even if it's just a pride thing, like you do, why do you go run in the Olympics? Right? It's for your nation and your pride, but it's for your personal pride too. Like to be able to be
With
like,
that fucking medal.
I trained, I did, and I pushed us forward as a sporting society or whatever. So
I've got a good hypothetical for you.
go.
You talked about unification and if aliens were to arrive. Assuming aliens arrive and they're just trying to fuck with humans, you know, like they pull up, they're strapped.
Yeah,
Like
they're
are
writing
y-
that ticket.
Are you? Well, not, I guess not. Would you recommend joining, or would you join yourself? Like, I feel like if they landed right and they were like, "We need all the humans we can get to go fight this alien menace," I might feel patriotic enough to pick up arms
To go at 'em?
to take up arms against the galacnoids. Like,
We got duped into that once, man. Coming
I'm
back
not
down
doing
that
that.
road. I'll pick up the arms for myself and my family.
When the aliens
you know?
get here, I'll handle that bridge
Like,
later.
I'll handle my personal fair share of the aliens, like whichever aliens are fucking with me. But to save the human race, I mean, I'm just I just don't even do it for my own government. I'm not doing it for the
well,
human race.
that's the
you know,
idea. Is it would be the ultimate unifier. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
like my government versus their government.
It's for the
It
world.
would
It's
be
for
like
human race.
For the
Humanity.
future of humanity,
Humanity,
in the sense
yeah.
that, like, you know, if they win, you know, they they don't enslave us. They just
Imagine
reset button,
imagine all the elk getting together and fighting for the elk species dominance. I would
really
just
funny.
immediately,
I like
as
that.
soon
That would be
as they,
serious fucking
as
business,
soon as
dog.
they show up, I'd be like, we're not who we thought we were. All right,
if
boys.
all the
So-
wildlife animals come out of the forest strapped, ready to go, like fighting to the death.
I mean,
let me
it would
tell
just
you
be
something.
funny.
I'm picking up arms against
Here's
the
a-
bears.
here's an
I'll do
interesting
that.
statistic.
I will do that.
Over 99%, I think it's 99, anywhere from 95 to 99% of all the species that have ever existed on planet Earth are now extinct.
Right.
So our time is coming.
Right.
Whether it be aliens,
That's what I'm saying.
or asteroids or whatever,
You know,
it's not gonna last.
enjoy your final moments. folks.
If it comes down to it being aliens, just be happy you had an exciting day.
I'll tell you, I'm not taking prisons, so they're killing me, or that's it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm not
Like,
going with
you,
them.
You brought up the slave thing. Like, I'd rather the aliens came by and just nuked everybody, because
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not being no
I'm not
alien
going
slave.
with them, so I will
not
pick up a
happening.
gun to make that stop. Like whatever, if they try and come and take me with them,
Yeah.
It's not happening.
I'm fighting to the death.
These
You
aliens
have to
don't
kill me
respect
and
my First
reanimate
Amendment
me,
rights.
Check. I hope this shit works.
I'm from Texas, bro. You don't know about this.
I'm not going with you, bro. That's just it. That's it. Take anybody else if you can, but I'm not going with you.
Also, another good hypothetical: if you were to be offered a really lucrative job in space, say you were just like, what if
Yeah.
they were just like, hey, you know, Jeff Bezos got this whole thing figured out. We got space mining going on now up here. You know, we're just hitting these asteroids and just chipping away like coal miners. You get some Bezos bucks, you know. And
I mean, I'm a pretty forward-thinking guy, you know. Like I like to be on the cutting edge of things and stuff. I just don't like to work for people. You know what I mean? So whether that's cutting space diamonds or shuffling around good old oak paper around here, I'm not with it, dog.
I don't storm any beaches.
Yeah, I'm not with it.
I don't storm beaches.
Yeah, you're not you talk about that. You like to see some science behind it and everything like that too.
Not just science. Like, I'm sure they got the. If they're sending people up there to mine the asteroids, I'm sure they got the science figured out. I'm just not gonna be
experience. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm going to let other people handle the initial phase, and then once there's a little bit more social proof, really, like, kind of like you, like, there's nothing in it for, like, I'm not really a materialistic person, so the money doesn't draw me.
It's the adventure that would draw me.
into space
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
really
feel you.
draw me
That would draw
because
me.
it seems kind of unadventurous. Really, it just seems like a really long commute to work, if I'm being honest. But I think, and a really long shift, because you can't really come back.
know what that view is like. Like when they were up there and listening to them talk about it, like you heard Richard Branson. It looked like he was like having like
that's
one of the
that's
moments
like the argument
of his
that
life.
people use at the strip club. Like, well, these girls are in real life, and it's like, doesn't make it any more appealing to just look at. Like, if I'm just gonna look at it, like, there's really nice 4K, 8K photos that I can look at. And
I gotta
not
disagree.
have to deal with all
Having
that.
just come back from Costa Rica, I gotta disagree because I looked at all the pictures and all the videos, and I thought that
No,
I
no,
might
no,
have been
but you
ruining
didn't go
the
to Costa
experience for
Rica.
myself. Seeing it was like
No.
different.
It's totally different because you didn't just go and like fly to Costa Rica, take a look around, and then come back.
Even driving in the car, just like through the country, was like this whole.
But there's an
different.
there's an experience that's attached to all of those visuals and stuff like that. Like the same way that the experience is going to space. So it's like.
I guess you're right. If
Like
you were
the
like,
first
yo, do
time
you want to go
ever
on
drove
vacation?
in a car, it was the experience, regardless of what you were seeing.
No, I get what you're saying. Like,
But-
if somebody was like, yo, you want to go on vacation? We're going to drive through Costa Rica for 3 hours and then get back on the plane and go home. I would be like, nah,
Nah,
I'm good.
like yeah, what is the value to me
Yeah.
in that?
Are we going to make some stops? No, you can't
No,
get out of
you
the
can't
car.
get out of the car. We're just gonna drive through. It's gonna look really pretty.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
No.
I see. Like, I get it. Like, it looks better in real life. I know that, but it's like there has to be something more to it for me. So like when there's like an amusement park on the moon, I'm going.
Yeah.
You know, after it's open for a few years and people are living and stuff. But like just going up into space just to say that I did.
If I could
Not
live
interested.
comfortably in space, I would go in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Absolutely.
If there was like, even if it was just like a nice studio apartment in
Yeah.
space.
But if it was just like, if it had any kind of benefit over.
Yeah, like if there was
being in
stuff
the
to do,
States,
like that
or-
downsizing movie with Matt Damon.
Right.
Like I would do that.
And life was like better on the other side.
Yeah,
you
like,
got
I would
all
do that.
these perks and stuff. But this lends to the bigger idea too, because they keep trying to soothe us with this idea of being like, no, you'll get to go too. We're making this for commercial use, and it's like, but I don't really want to go. Like, what are we gonna do?
Well, yeah,
Like,
we currently
That's
don't
my
have
point.
any
It's like
incentive.
there's nothing to go up there and do.
like,
So, like
if I can take a plane to space right now, like, what's the destination?
You
though?
float for 3 minutes and then
then
come,
you come
back
back.
out. Yeah.
Like that is just, it doesn't really, it seems like you said, like an amusement ride, like you're building the world's coolest roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but
it's just I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just not for me.
this is what Jeff Bezos said. He said, addressed his critics saying he should invest in Earth, not space. And he said, this is what the lady said. There has been a chorus of critics saying that these flights to space are just joyrides for the wealthy and that you should be spending your time and your money and energy trying to solve problems here on Earth. This was a CNN reporter. And she said, so what do you say to those critics? And he said, they're largely right. Bezos, who boasts a net worth of about $206 billion, shot back. We have to do both, he clarified. Bezos acknowledged that there are problems in the here and now on Earth that need to be confronted, but added that it's also important to look to the future. The long-term goal of Blue Origin, he said, is to get so good at operating space travel that it becomes more like a commercial airliner.
Yeah.
What's my destination?
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like you said, commercial airliner to where?
We
Like
haven't
a-
gone back to the moon.
It's because there's nothing for us up there.
There's no colonies, like why would we go there? We're not
But
mining
see,
it.
I think that this is such a long-term play, though. Like, this is so long-term that not only is Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Richard Branson going to be dead by the time they see the fruits of their labors are ripe, but their kids are going to be dead. Probably their kids' are going to be dead. This is a multi-generational thing that they're building here.
But doesn't... Go ahead.
Well, just because, like, you're talking about, like, there will eventually be things, like, if we go long enough, there will be things on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first it'll just be, like, people to go and work to set it up to be habitable.
Sure.
Then once it's habitable, it'll be only for launching off into further distances of spaces. Just like any other colonization or civilization from a wild area, you move in, it's all forest. First, you got to chop all the trees down, clear the land.
Sure.
Then you got to start building houses. You got to start building a general store. Then people move in. Then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I see it more like International Space Station times a million. Like I see it more like a large thing chilling up in our orbit, orbitally locked.
I see that.
Facing the Earth. In a
I'm sure
certain
that'll
direction.
also happen.
That is like
Like a little city in the sky.
self-contained
And yeah, I could see that happening. Like you say, kids or grandkids will probably be dead. You're probably right in that because there's no real way to gauge that. It all depends on like how it's being built.
it
If we have
advances.
robots
Yeah.
building it, if we have AI that just has 20,000 robot arms that are up there night and day toiling away brick by brick building this thing, maybe we get a Death Star in 20 years. Like it just kind of depends.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's how I see, like, because the moon, it's like, why? Like, why would we go? Like, what
There's
are we going to
nothing
do
there.
there?
There's
What are we going to
nothing
do
there.
there? There's nothing for us to
Everything
do.
you're going to put there anyways is going to have to be man-made.
Like,
I guess you get a little head start on gravity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, but
right.
you just throw a big space station up there, dog. Like,
I feel that.
It's true.
Yeah.
But, it's just like, that's kind of, it's a little bit different because when you're exploring here on Earth, there's like other resources and stuff that you could go get or whatever. But I mean, that could be like, people probably said that same thing to the guys who built Dubai. They were like, "There's nothing here. It's just a desert.
Oh,
There's
they did say
literally
that.
no water." And they were like, "No. Believe
They
me."
made water.
Yeah,
and
they
everything.
made water.
But
there.
my point was you
so-
had to make all that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
And
it's
now
like
it's
you're
one
not
of the
gonna
most exciting
find it.
cities in the world.
Do you guys know how long it takes to get from Earth to the moon? Like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually not
super
that's-
short trip.
Yeah, that's
It's a
actually
short,
well
super short trip.
easily
Well,
done.
that's for like satellites and stuff like that, or like a manned mission with resources and shit, because that's a lot of weight that you have to take with you.
I didn't look up the specifics of
Yeah, we can get it.
but
Just dropped it
But
right
like it says 2 to 3 days if you look it up on Google. So I'm assuming 3-4 days on the long end.
Right.
But
Yeah.
even then, it's like, why haven't we gone back?
Hmm.
And like, if the answer is we don't have a reason to, then why are we working on commercial space
Almost.
travel?
Well, see, this is the difference, though, is that the government has no reason to go back to the moon, but private citizens, just because they want to, have a desire to go to the moon. So that's the difference. Like, I saw this article when I was doing some research for my topic, and it was talking about how NASA just gave SpaceX like a $170 million contract and ended up saving themselves like 1.5 billion because they decided to go with SpaceX instead of Boeing. And there's all these different reasons, and you know, like
They're just doing it more efficiently.
they're just doing it more efficiently, and mainly because SpaceX's rockets are reusable, so they don't have to build a whole new one, and that's a lot of cost. So, like, you have to think about it in the sense, like, there's different incentives when you're talking about NASA or the government going to the moon, when really the only reason that they wanted to go to the moon anyways was just to punk Russia.
But then
So-
it's not like the civilian. It's kind of the whole point of this whole conversation we're just having is civilians haven't really outlaid an objective either, though. Like if
I mean,
there
Elon
is,
Musk has
if
outlaid
there,
an
like you
objective.
said, the only objective they seem to have right now is we want to go. You know?
yeah,
like-
there's no.
I mean,
There's
Elon
no,
Musk has
like-
been very
Well, there's this. He terraforming Mars and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Like he has like a plan, but you know, Jeff Bezos is talking about commercial airlining, and then like
Yeah,
that
that doesn't
it's
make any
like
sense.
really it just doesn't make any sense. So but I was going when we were going on this, and I was like, all right, it does question, doesn't it feel like they might be too ahead of the game then, right? Like if this is not going to be for your kids, it's kids. That's what people are kind of saying. Then why are you focusing on something that's so far away? Like I get it, you want to go far away, that's cool, but so far away. But then I read this next line in the article, and Jeff Bezos said when he was talking about making it commercially acceptable, he said if we can do that, we'll be building a road to space for the next generations to do amazing things there, and those amazing things will solve problems here on Earth. And so I thought what you were saying. I was like, you know what? It is kind of so forward thinking, but we can't even do anything out there until we can get there.
Right.
So that is almost seems like the first problem to solving anything that space might have to offer is like we got to get up there. We got to get up
You
there
gotta
and we
make
got to
it
play
efficient,
with
yeah.
it. We got to build, like you said, maybe we do build a space station. Maybe we do terraform Mars or whatever. We figure out something.
Well, we have to get up there.
But we
first.
can't do anything till we get up there. So I get that idea of like getting the next generation there so that the next generation can figure out what is the best use of
We
this
need to
tool.
take our next generation deep into the recesses of our oceans.
I agree. I agree.
I think we should do both. I think that there's people working on the ocean too. They don't get as much press, but I'm sure if you look it up, people are working on.
But see, like when I was a kid, it
going
was
deep.
all about Jacques Cousteau. He was like the fucking man. What Steve Irwin was to me in middle and high school, Jacques Cousteau was to me when I was in like elementary school. And it's like there's just no. It's like now we got cool space guys.
Yeah.
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 But we don't really have like cool underwater guys. Like what
Yeah.
happened to our Aquaman?
It's not really, like you said, it's not getting a lot of play out
It's
here.
really not getting a lot of play.
It's not edgy and fun. It's teaching. It's teaching.
But
you know
there's
what I mean?
so
It's
much down there.
It's
There's-
fundamental.
Like they talk about solve problems here on Earth. Like
They
if you
could
go
be
deep
in
in
ocean.
exactly,
Could
the
be in
answers
ocean.
could be down there, bro. We're talking food sources. We're
And you
talking,
could be looking in the completely wrong place.
It could solve our problems for space.
Yeah.
How about that?
But my closing kind of comment to add on to that and to this whole subject, though, is if I'm really dead ass serious about going and exploring the ocean, then I feel like I should be the one to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that I
Yeah.
can just
Armchair
to
quarterback.
Tulsi, Gabbard, and the Kristen Johnsons and anybody else throwing criticism. Like, I could sit here, I just did for about an hour and throw criticism, and I could throw it around. But when I get down to the nuts and bolts, it's not my place to say. Not my motherfucking money. I would go to the ocean. It's like, what would you do if you won the lottery?
How fucked up does
I don't
it
know. What
sound
would
if
you
you
do?
if you flip Tulsi Gabbard to where it's like Elon or Jeff Bezos just went down to the bottom of the ocean. I hope he never resurfaces for air. Like think about how fucked it sounds.
It sounds
like
it's
it's
terrible.
fucking
It's
crazy.
terrible. You wish
Yeah.
death on him for
Yeah,
what?
I
'Cause he's
definitely.
rich?
Yeah, and it's like this kind of like it's this growing animosity against rich people, and it's really scary. It's
scary.
like it's not healthy for a society. Not just because, like, you know, I don't really ever want to be like a billionaire or anything like that, but even if I, like, that's beside the point. Like, just the fact, like, that's another human being. Yeah. Like, regardless of whatever his bank account says or his net worth and all this dumb shit, and like that's a person. And like, you're supposed to care about people, but now we're like wishing them death, and like just because we think that they're not using their money in the way that we think that they should use their money. And it's like, well, then why don't you go become a billionaire, and then you can go clear all the
way
fucking,
that you see
buy all these teachers Lamborghinis or whatever it is that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's one Amazon away. Just fucking pop off.
Yeah, growing up, I never really saw a lot of like animosity towards the rich in the culture. And then within the past few years, I've seen like Eat the Rich. We had fucking...
Oh, the divide is growing.
It's been getting bad.
Like, and culturally, it's been something we've been focused on as a society in recent
I think it has
years,
a lot to do
more.
with I think it has a lot to do with the fact that before, whether it was true or it was just spoken about, like, people felt like there was the opportunity for them to become rich, or like that class movement, like you could get there. So it was like, it was kind of like when we woke up to the idea of being rich and like not hating rich people, because like I had some
one day I was just like
how can I hate rich people if I want to be
rich? Yeah, that's exactly.
So it's like when you get to that level, you're like, okay, well, if I want to be rich, but
I'm
now
not
I
a
feel
bad
like
person.
people just, for whatever reason, whether it be true or not true, like they feel that they can't become into that level, that stratosphere of wealth.
Yeah.
And so now they're like resentful of it.
We've resulted to just throwing rocks at them because we feel like, you know, they're...
This brings me to something really cool. You guys ever seen the movie The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio about Howard Hughes? I love it too. Amazing film.
Great film.
That really makes you think about how Howard Hughes, who built that gigantic, ridiculous fucking plane out of wood that was gonna like solve the Spruce Goose that was gonna solve the problems of World War II and shit. It's like, look how ridiculous that ended up being, right? That was a billionaire who took his money and told the government. Well, I guess in this sense, it was kind of government contracts a little bit, you know, but a lot of his own money too. So it's kind of like the Elon Musk SpaceX type of thing. It seems like this has happened before.
Yeah. And then you bring up an interesting point that turned out to be a waste.
Huge waste. It turned out to be nobody is flying spruce gooses around.
That's very fascinating point to me.
And he thought he was like solving the problem of getting your tanks and all of your stuff. And
huge.
Turns out we have a C5 Galaxy.
Huge.
Yeah, for real. So, my topic for this week actually kind of ties into this because, you know, we talked about with Elon Musk and I'm assuming Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson, kind of like this idea that we have to pave the way for space travel to be economical in case we need to colonize another planet if this planet is no longer habitable for human beings. And in doing some of my research, I noticed that there was like a number of really massive weather events that were happening currently, and it just got my mind thinking about over the years the weather seems to have been getting really extreme. And I think that that's one of the reasons why they changed the saying from global warming to climate change, because you know, for years now, I don't know how many years, but there's been record highs in all over the world, record highs in the summers, record lows in the winters. So it's weird to call it global warming if you're also having record low temperatures every year over and over again.
Yeah, it becomes a misnomer.
It becomes a misnomer. So they changed it to climate change, which encapsulates it a little bit more. But I actually thought of a different phrase that I think encapsulates it even better, which is climate extremification. And I think about it in like a visual sense as like a bell curve where you have most of the data points are underneath this big bell in the center, and then you have these very minuscule, as far as statistically, extremes on the ends. But what's happening is it seems like that bell is being flattened, where the extremes are coming up and the moderate is coming down to make this like more flat line. And what got me thinking about this is there's a number of wildfires going on. I think there's 38 different wildfires happening across 13 different states here in America right now. There's a huge one happening in British Columbia. I read an article that said that what's been dubbed as the coldest city in the world, which is this place in Russia. It's in the TN article. Nope, next to that. if you go down, I can't remember what the name of this place was.
Yakutsk.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Russians. Apparently this city's got a crazy wildfire going on, and so obviously this is very extreme weather. But
one of the coldest cities in the world is on fire.
The coldest is what it said. Known as the coldest city in the world, is blanketed by haze as nearby wildfires scorch through the forest, causing immense heat waves in the cities. At the same time, there's torrential downpours creating flooding and landslides in Germany and in Belgium. And my mind goes back to just a year ago or so where the Texas had that crazy freeze. And so we're having all these crazy weather events happening. And it just got me thinking about how over the years, I wish that there was like some sort of big study on this to like plot it all out. But one of the things that first got me interested in like techwear, which is like a hyper advanced, it's like taking all of the stuff from mountaineering clothing and putting into regular day clothing. And what got me thinking about that was my love for like dystopian future sci-fi movies and how they always have fucked up climates in those movies. You know, like there's air
always.
isn't good enough to breathe.
Always.
And it's like you can't go out into these certain areas of the world because they're like irradiated or something and you need special clothes. So it's like, I feel like that's happening. You know what I mean? Like when I look around, I'm like, yo, like half the world is on fire. The other half is flooding. Some of it's freezing. And
The Bible predicted this, you know.
Revelations, bitches. I didn't think of that about it. But I just thought it was such a fascinating aspect. And it kind of ties into, like I said, what we were talking about with the space race stuff. Like, we might have to bail out this motherfucker, you know? Like
Could
it
be going
in a bad way. And not that I'm like a discounter of climate change. Like it's obviously changing. And I mean, obviously we are having something to do with that. Just because all of the shit that we do on Earth, it's like, how could you not change the climate?
We're a factor, guys.
Yeah, we're a factor. And I think I think you can make an argument that we're a pretty large factor too. But
I mean, we haven't even explored 80% of our ocean, so it's not like we're like really that big out here.
Yeah, but somehow we've been able to pollute a fuck ton of it, though.
I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
we also be cutting down them forests. Like
I just feel like it's hard to. I mean, I know that there's like 8 billion of us now and all that stuff, but in a way, to Earth, we're like ants, you know. So it's just like, I feel like we are doing something, but to say we're doing a lot, like I just personally don't feel like we're doing a lot of anything out here in this gigantic universe, you know.
That's true. I mean, one statistic that I read in a book recently was that apparently all of the cities and small towns combined in all of America, just trees cover vastly more area than all of them combined.
Right.
So like when you live in a city, you have this idea of like urban sprawl and it's like spreading out, it's taking over and there's no more open space. But actually most of it's open space. There's almost nothing going on around except for these tiny little dots in a few places.
And I talked to my mom about this and she's just like, well, nobody wants to live there. And I'm like, but you can though.
Yeah,
but you
certainly
could
can.
live on these mountains. You know, like there's like a lot of this earth already that just hasn't been developed, you know. So like you said, we're doing a lot, sort of
gentrify the mountains.
It really just depends on what
animals out of here.
It depends on what your definition of a lot is, I guess.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
It's a subjective term.
Right.
But we are doing something.
We're doing
and I think that it's becoming more and more prevalent to me personally. Like, you know, climate change was always kind of this thing that you never heard of. Like, you just more CO2 in the air. And I'm like, oh, it's good for the plants. They like CO2 or whatever. But now I'm like seeing it. I'm like, yo, like that looks terrible. Like that's like a fucking horror movie in that picture right there.
And we just did a podcast not too long ago. Now, this was a man-made started fire from you remember the PPG thing, the electric, they started that fire. But I mean, my point is we've been talking about forest fires for a couple years now. Like they've been getting bad. It's not like this is just 1 year. Like they've been fires have been ravaging.
Mega storms keep happening.
They're
not going away.
it's only a matter of time for another like tsunami hits or some crazy.
We
shit
just
like
talked
that.
about the ice out in Texas, which is weird, dude. I lived in Texas like my whole life, and
barely even snowed.
it snowed one time.
Think about it this
twice.
December. That was in like December or January, right? We had the whole freeze over. Then fast forward, we're only in July, and we're seeing
And the whole fucking
record
place is on
heat
fire.
waves.
Yeah,
It will.
it's-
Not only is it on fire, it's hotter than it's ever been. There was
Yeah.
something the other day I saw. It was an article that said the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth was recorded like a week ago.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
that's impressive.
That's wild.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know where it was, but it sounded
Yeah.
very wet.
Yeah.
Like I don't think like you sweat so bad you just stop sweating.
You're just in
run out of
water.
water.
Run out of water. Just dries you up like a microwave. You've been sitting
like
there too long.
SpongeBob from the SpongeBob movie.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they fucking dry all up.
I got no sweat left.
So, I think in this one they talk about, in this article specifically, they ask some scientist whether or not it's climate change or if it's poor forest management, and he basically said it's both. Obviously it's getting hotter, so that doesn't help, but also we're not like cleaning up the forest like nature used to do, because that's one thing. Like, fire is a natural process of the environment. There's always been fires. It's not like we invented fire. We just managed to harness fire. But if you watch like lightning strike a tree, lights that tree on fire, it's pretty easy to like think a couple of steps ahead, be like, okay, I can see how this part of the forest would light on fire after that. But when you look into like record droughts, like I saw like one of the Great Lakes is like at its lowest point it's ever been recorded at.
Lake Mead's having a problem right now.
Lake Mead's having a
Dam.
huge problem. They had to. I read an article. They had to helicopter water into the mountains of Nevada for the mountain goats, because there wasn't any water for them to drink, and they need the mountain goats because they sell licenses to go kill the mountain goats, which makes money for them and shit like that. So it's like,
You gotta water your goats.
you gotta water your goats, but like, oh no, there's no more goat water up there left. We gotta go fucking get it out of the lake that's already super low and helicopter it up to the fucking. And it's like, oh, what's that doing? Just more CO2. What are all these fires burning? Carbon.
Yeah.
Just carbon material.
You know what could really help the Earth is if we just stop the water from flowing. That would be really good.
Didn't help
right?
them, it helped us.
We should do that,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah.
should totally work.
We should totally just stop
Just
all of this
build
water.
this gigantic mammoth of a wall.
I was looking into it, and they said that based on today's like environmental impact studies and stuff, they would never build the Hoover Dam.
Oh, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Wow, we keep uncovering things that seem like this gigantically awesome idea at the time, but then turned out to be a complete waste.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, it's interesting. But it's the question though that we've been asking a lot, or that I always come to, right? And I'm just like, okay, so I'll acknowledge that there's something going on because it seems weird, right? But is it supposed to happen? It's like you were talking about. Like, are we doing it? Or because the Earth do be changing. Like, it does change up its patterns and its weather patterns in places that used to be hot or cold, and places that used to be super cold. These places that used to be underwater are now land, you know? Like, it's changing all the time. And so I wonder if, like I said, are these actual man-made causes? Is it all just because of, like, greenhousing and shit like that? Or is this just, like, Earth doing its thing? And we can't
also,
really tell.
Has this happened before?
Right.
You know,
what I mean?
I hate to go woo-woo and speculate, but
Sure.
things like, people do believe that civilization could have started on another planet before it came here. And the idea that, like, we could have just mined out Mars, we wouldn't be able to tell now, like, however many years later.
Like
we
that.
would
How
have
I think
no
about this
fucking
often.
way. There's no way we would know. Like,
Shit,
just
dude.
looking at it,
Just
we wouldn't be like, I see that salt mine
Yeah,
from
look at it. I can see
20
the
million
tunnel.
years ago.
Now, you know what? You bring up a good point with that, because I remember listening to this philosopher talk about how, or maybe he's like an archaeologist or something, but he was talking about how you have these people in the Dark Ages, like in the time of the Dark Ages, who were living in the literal ruins of a way more advanced civilization, and they had absolutely no conception as to how this area was built, how they made these amazing architectural designs and stuff like that, how they brought them to life. And this is only like 100 or 200 years later.
They still
Yeah.
can't really explain how the pyramids of Giza showed up.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
Like, it's
so
still
it's like,
happening.
you have these things, like we have these ideas of like what advanced means, or like where we are on the timeline of like us or whatever, but it's not really as cut and dry as that.
The Aztecs were pretty advanced, and they could do all the star research and all that shit. They had the number 0, but they still built on Mayan ruins that they had no fucking clue how to build. Like they're completely different. And they were just like, I guess we should probably just who were these people? Like they didn't know.
If it was
them.
good enough for them, we should probably stay here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, but when you think about how, like, you bring up a good point too, Rod, where you talk about, is this just something that the Earth does? And I'm like, well, yes. I mean, the Earth changes a lot. There were 2 huge ice ages where the whole thing was covered in ice before humans were around at all. So it's like, and then that was reversed by some giant, what was the
asteroids?
The asteroid impact, and then that melted that really quick. But so the Earth obviously changes, but really what I'm more interested in now is what we do about it. Like, are we going to end up in this sort of dystopian world where, like, you can't go to certain, like what if the western half of the United States becomes so fire-ridden and just drought destroyed that you just can't go there anymore?
It's like the Book of Eli. You're just walking around blind with a Bible.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that,
but it's tough too because like you said, there's a lot of activism towards like, we got to slow this down. But then it's like, I wonder what the nature of the problem is, right? Like, can we just like change our ways and then everything will like slowly regress, or are we going to reach some tipping point to where it just starts heading in that direction and we can't slow it down? And I'm worried because like I've noticed already just in everything that we do, like it's just hard to even shift our government, right? Like it's been so hard to just even reform policing or something like that. Like, so we just haven't been really good at innovation, I can see, as human beings. And that's a weird statement to make because we have innovated a lot, but people have brought up some interesting points to me. Like, you still drive a car pretty much the same way since the time the car was created, right? Like, sure, it's got some new gadgets and stuff, but a car is a car. A toilet seat is a toilet seat. Like, we have a way of making things better, but we very rarely think about just scrapping something and doing it all
totally
brand new. That's what was so innovative about Elon Musk's and stuff like that. Like, it's like this dude here, he comes and he's like, no, I'm not just gonna like build on your rocket idea. I'm just gonna say like, well, how could we just do this completely different?
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw the rocket away every time I use it.
Like, so, but we don't do that often. And if we do need that with our system, like, are we gonna do that in time? How do we do that? How does that go?
What's so interesting about it, though, is I think that for me personally, I think it will come from. I have this dilemma of like, it's like a thought experiment. Technology gets us into this mess. And then we kind of have to rely on technology to get us out of the mess. But I have a conflict with that because it's like, well, the mess wasn't an intentional part of the technology. It was something that we discovered later as an unforeseen consequence. So who's to say that we don't just make a whole new set of problems from the new technology to solve this old set of technology problems? But I think what it'll really come down to is like combining our technological innovation with an observation of the natural process. Like, I think that we've become too disconnected from how our ecosystems actually operate normally. And so by jumping in and being like, we're going to do it all this other way, and like, we're going to turn our shit into trash instead of making it something that just turns back into the earth. It's like, well, if we can just figure out a way for our toilets, instead of routing to some sort of facility where they take all the solids out and then throw them away somewhere, what if we just we should just route all the pipes back into the dirt somehow? You know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously not smart enough to figure this out.
Run the poop back into the hollow earth.
And then we'll fill up the earth with the poop, and then it's all solved.
That's a great idea. I am all for
And then
that.
the mycelium will just thrive.
Once again, unforeseen consequences. I was thinking about this when you said that. Have you ever looked at how much water it takes to like farm like almonds?
Yes.
It's outrageous.
It's crazy.
It's an outrageous amount of
Almonds
water
are
to
like
just
one of the
farm
most-
some fucking almonds.
Isn't cranberries like that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole thing is like, oh, drink the almond milk. It's better.
Yeah.
It's better than the cow.
It's better. It's organic.
Dang.
Organic cashew
It's
almond
almost
milk.
like we don't really know how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the problem is that we always want almonds, and that we always want the milk from almonds, and that it has to always be available. Whereas that's not really how it's operated for the longest time. Like, you'd come across an almond tree whenever it was wet enough, wherever you happened to be at the time. But when we stopped moving around and just sat down in one spot and was like, we're just gonna stay here for as long as physically possible, that's when a lot of these problems started. That's when the sanitation problem started. That's when the food problem started, like with unhealthy foods.
And it points to the bigger thing that you were saying about like not being able to cooperate with nature, right? Like, because the idea that I had that I thought was like, damn, like that's why it kicked me back for a second in my chair was, I think what a problem is, and God, I got a lot to say right here, but like, first of all, I want to say like my unpopular opinion is I feel like we're parasitic, all right? Like, and that people hate that, you know.
You saw that Blue Origin rocket.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think that like human beings, the human species is parasitic in nature, you know, like we don't think about, and this is what I meant. We are fundamentally coming from this idea that we have to get away from the natural process, right? Like the natural process is the enemy. I think about my personal experience with the beach. Okay. I hate sand. Hated sand. I always felt like, I gotta find some way to not have sand on me. Like people go to the beach, I don't like it on my clothes and take it everywhere with you. And it's that fundamental idea like that you're adverse to nature and like what comes with just being dirty or smelly or, you know, a part of it, right? It was like we've as we become society, we've started to see ourselves more and more separated as like, I don't want that shit in my house. Like I came from Costa Rica and Jessica was like, oh, there's so many bugs and like lizards and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, we're like living in the jungle, you know, like it's really hard to separate the jungle from the house at this point. Like a little bit's going to creep in, you know, but it's that fundamental fear and that need. She's like, but I don't want it near me.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be a part of it, you know? And so we always doing things to elevate ourselves above it, but at the same time, like shitting on it, you know, because, and I think that's what makes us kind of parasitic or at odds with the natural process.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I can agree that we just like everything evolves, the way that we operate in modern societies has evolved to be in such a way that it is no longer in the flow of the natural process. Like when we were in the flow of the natural process, I don't think that we were parasitic. And I think
creating as many problems.
Or creating as many problems. So I think that really people might have a problem with you saying that because they interpret that as saying it, oh, humans inherently are parasitic.
Right.
Like no matter what we do. Right. And it's like, well, maybe not necessarily because you can make that statement about any species then. But you know, like the beavers dam streams and rivers and stuff like that, but they don't build the Hoover Dam, you know. They don't just create lakes and shit like that. Like it's a smaller, more localized impact that the system can deal with and adapt to.
They also have predators.
Right. And eventually somebody comes around and eats the beavers and then the dam goes away.
You got way too many beavers building too many dams. So
that's no longer a localized small impact. You're right. You have to clear the beavers off your land sometimes because there'd be too many of them.
Yeah, because we don't have any predators.
And that's today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. God damn, that's
Drop the mic.
Too funny. Yeah, no, seriously though. I just feel like, man, maybe it's cultural extremism, you know, or extremification, right? Like we just doing too much out here. I just think we're just doing too much sometimes. Like, this is something I've experienced in my personal life. You know, it's like you can get and live a really awesome life with a little, but that's not how our culture operates anymore. It's like big Mac.
Yeah, I mean,
Big Mac. I want the quadruple Big Mac.
What was it, like a week or two ago? They had that fire in the middle of the ocean.
Oh, yeah, in the Gulf of Mexico.
God, and it was just like, that's a definition of us doing too much right there. When you set the ocean on fire, you are doing too much.
Talk about living against the natural process. I mean, like, that's just not supposed to happen.
That is not supposed to happen. There's literally no way.
I will have to come in with my big brain sciencey shit real quick to just be like, the ocean wasn't on fire technically. There was just a lot of small fires happening inside the oceon because the oil and the water don't mix, and then the oil is the stuff that was on
just
fire.
In case y'all haven't seen it, I'm gonna pull it up for you.
It looks like
when you look at it, it looks like it's on fire.
I don't care how you spin it. It looks like some shit that should not be happening.
It should definitely not be happening.
That shit don't look like, I don't give a fuck what's on fire.
What I never understood is why that boat is so far away with the water. Like
you're gonna get closer. Look at that other water boiling around.
But the water's not close enough to put the fire out.
Look, I'm not Mark Wahlberg, okay? I don't know how this shit works.
You're gonna spray water on the fire that's in the water? Like, I don't think it's gonna work.
Shit is wild, bro. How does it? just don't. I mean, I get, like you said, I guess the gas and the water aren't mixing, so it's the fires on the gas and the water.
I'm just waiting for Cthulhu to come rising out of
What the fuck did you do? You woke me up, motherfucker.
Godzilla comes fucking stomping out that bitch.
Yeah, that's definitely. It's it's kind of weird to think like that's literally just fossilized dinosaurs blazing in the ocean.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it gets weirder.
It's weird.
It gets weirder. It's not just fossilized dinosaurs. We had to drill into the layers of earth rock to then extract
it. Their DNA.
Sometimes, do you ever think like, are they just been lying to us the whole time?
Always.
That'll make no fucking sense.
Always. I think that's why everybody tripped out about the alien shit.
I mean, because like sometimes I'll be like filling up a car at a gas station and be like, these were dinosaurs? Like, at what stage was this gasoline eating other gasolines?
At times, whenever you were talking about how like certain societies might be living on top of other societies and just not knowing about it. I think that all the time. I'm just like, you don't really know what happened. Like, I have no idea how we got here.
Yeah.
Like, they tell me about the horses and the buggies and the like teepees and all that stuff, but when you look around, it's like, damn. I have this thought at least once a day where I'm just like, did all of life just start this minute? Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything I thought happened before is just like part of the simulation, and like it's begun. Like,
yeah, the technology of written language didn't come around until, and for some societies, it just never came around. Like the Inca, like we learned about them, they never had a written language.
Kipu.
Egypt, they had the Kipu. Egypt, they had a written language. Ancient Babylon, Sumer, they had languages. Go back 3, 4, 5, 6,000 more years. Go back 10,000 more years. There were still humans. There was Neanderthals at some point. We fucked them out of existence. Did they have a written language?
Yeah.
Did they? What was going on with that?
Them.
Why did we start fucking Neanderthals?
We just don't know.
We have no fucking clue.
We speculate.
Zero idea.
We speculate. It's just.
But we just look at bones. We just find a bunch of bones in a hole, and we're like, "Yep, this explains everything." No, the fuck it doesn't. Those are bones.
You see that scratch on his femur right there? That means that he was stabbed.
It's
they're
in
like,
the math.
yeah, they're like, look, tool marks.
If you
Okay,
have
cool,
math,
tool
you can
marks.
figure
I got you. But what if it's not fucking tool
Tool
marks?
marks. What if you're wrong? What if,
Because science is a liar sometimes.
Yeah, go look at them rocks up in the fucking
it's almost
Andes
like
mountains.
we have this idea that if we all come together and agree, then we're right. And it's like,
no way.
you don't
Which
know.
is funny. It's so funny how much that's happened recently. Like, especially like, when you talk about COVID, like the consensus or like the climate change, like 97% of scientists agree that climate change is real or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, that's never how science has been done. That's like the opposite of science. Consensus was never like we all agree, so that must be it. Like, actually, when Galileo came out and said that what you now call factual thing, that the sun or that the earth was not the center of the universe, they almost tried to kill that motherfucker for that. That was not a consensus. When Copernicus came out and was like, yo, I think we're moving around the sun.
Yeah.
They were like, heresy.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
This is the land of God, and why would God not be the center? And he was like, look, man, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing through my telescope.
Yeah.
And he was the only guy saying that. And now it's consensus.
And I can kind of understand where some of these conspiracy theories are coming from, because the more I look into space, I'm writing, I'm learning about space, and I'll be like, oh, exoplanets? How do they know that they're made of methane?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they shoot like colors out of a telescope. Like, it just gets to a level where I don't fucking understand it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you could just be like, oh, well, John's just a dummy. He doesn't understand how we know that the exoplanets are made of all these different fucking chemicals. How the fuck did they know?
Yeah.
Explain it to me.
So.
And like, when you get an explanation, it's like, yeah, that might be true.
Dude,
You know what I'm saying?
I've
Like,
broken this down before. If you Google anything natural, tidal waves, electricity,
Gravity.
any of that, right? They say it's a natural phenomenon, right? A phenomenon, by definition, is something that you can't explain.
Like a
right?
miracle.
Right. So it's like they can describe to you what is happening, but how it's actually happening and all that stuff, or why it's happening, all those things are just
Consensus. It's get a
saying,
consensus.
like, I mean, everything goes down to phenomenon, gravity, all this stuff that we feel like we have so well explained is by definition something that we don't really have explained. You know, it's like, it's just like, yo, this is how we think it'd be out here. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
have you ever seen the current map? The map of the currents of the ocean?
No.
fascinating look.
Really?
It's like looking at a subway map.
It's funny how we could have that. Have we seen? Has we not seen half
it's
of
like,
this
yeah,
shit? 80%
and I'm
of it
like,
you never even touched, but
yeah,
you can
and that's
tell
why
me
when
the
he's
current.
telling me about like we know that those planets are made out of methane gas because when we used our little device here to
Right.
look at methane gas, it showed up as this color on the screen,
Right.
and when we pointed it up at that planet,
It's purple
it came
too,
up
see?
as so that must mean that it's
Yeah.
like, are you sure there's not just methane flowing through space? Right there?
It's Black Swan, right? If you ever read,
Nassim Taleb.
oh, okay. Well, I was actually taking it from the guy who did the negotiation book.
Yeah, no, he's a lot of people use the idea of a black swan, but Nassim Taleb is actually the guy who wrote the book
Okay.
about black swans.
Cool. So we'll just quote Nassim Taleb up here. But the point is, there's things that you know, right? And then this makes you feel confident. You're like, I know all this stuff, right? And then there's things you don't know, right? Like you don't know how space works or something. And so you feel confident in that space. You're like, yeah, there's something going on. I just don't know. But then there's this whole other category of the things you don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's the black swan. It could change everything. So you're just like, yeah, that's methane because it's purple. But you didn't know that xenonomenon is also purple.
Also purple.
You
Looks
know,
just
and
like
you
methane.
it looks just like methane
Just
on
like
the
methane.
on the. You didn't know that though because you never seen xenonomenon. You know what I mean? And you didn't even know that existed. So it's like it's that skepticism that I throw into everything.
Yeah.
To everything. It's like, yes, you know, until you don't know. Okay,
Yeah.
like
Until Galileo comes out here and be like, actually,
changes, right?
That's just like the concept that like we could be surrounded by interdimensional beings that we just don't have the senses to fucking
They could be
realize
small.
are there.
They could be
They
so microscopic you just can't.
They could be the same size as us moving in the same rooms, but we just can't feel them. We don't have the right set of eyeballs to see them.
just
We don't
don't
have the
know.
right nose to smell them.
Just don't know.
You just don't fucking know
Yeah.
because you don't have the sensory capability of knowing.
And so to get so up on our like thing and just be like, yeah, we know, you know what I mean? Like we got it figured out, baby. It's this with the math and the you know, my scope saw it, and then this guy's scope saw it, so it must be. It's like y'all's
I've got
scopes
these
are
pieces
broken.
of glass,
Everybody's
you
scope's
see?
broken. Like fuck out of here. So I don't know, and a lot of that comes into play with this, you know, with that same thing. It's like I feel I'm getting to that point where I'm just not really arguing against it anymore. Like I guess I was kind of like climate change, man, y'all just making up problems, you know. Like I'm like,
You just want my money.
You know what I mean? Like, so I was definitely kind of on that at first, but now I'm also starting to see it and be like, all right, well, this is weird. Like I'm seeing a lot of weird things I've never seen happen in my lifetime. I just don't know what we don't know about it. You know, that's what I'm like. I don't know if like that's just.
I think what we
part
don't
of
know
it.
about what we don't know is that we're just gonna get hit by another fucking asteroid at some point, and that's gonna be our
that's happened multiple times in this planet's
that's gonna
history.
be our weather extremification event right there.
Let me give you this too. When we were talking about the solution, I thought about that so funny. I was like, well, I'll tell you what our solution has always been, right? Is if something wears out, it's not really quite working the way it used to, and it's not doing its job, you throw that shit away and you get a new one.
You're gonna throw it in the trash.
So I mean,
that's essentially what Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk want to
are
do with the
trying
planet.
to do. They're like, yo, the shit getting kind of dusty. It's getting kind of fiery and droughty and just it's a little old and a little fucked up. We probably should start working on some new shit.
This reminds me of that.
We're gonna get ready to throw this one
Like,
away.
fuck fixing this shit.
What
Like,
was
let's
it,
just
the-
throw this shit away.
What was it? The Dave Chappelle where he was making fun of the movie where it was like the president was like, all right, well, I got my alien buddy here.
Bebop,
Me and
Bebop,
Bebop gonna
yeah.
head up to the spaceship. Y'all, good luck. We're gonna
That's
take these two cloned white
One
women
of
with
our-
us.
That's one of our favorite Chappelle skits.
That's real movies or something.
No, that's in the
It's not-
Chappelle show.
Yeah, but it's not Black Bush.
Please be seated.
This man knows the Chappelle
Hello,
show.
America. As you all know, there's an asteroid the size of Maine speeding towards Earth as we speak. I'd like to take a moment out of the day to address the allegations that this is somehow my fault. Firstly, I'd like to say that these allegations are absolutely and 100% false. Secondly, and most importantly, I'd like to say that you disgust me. You're goddamn right I said it. If you knew just one of the things I was sworn to secrecy to, you would buckle under the goddamn pressure.
Mr. President. Like what?
How about this? I have here in my hand the cure for AIDS. We've had this for 25 years.
He just throws it in the crowd.
Have a great weekend. Did I shock you? Are you crazy yet? Well, I have someone I'd like you to meet. Come on up here, Paula. America, I'd like you to meet my good friend Paula. And here's Paula again. And here's Paula one more time. We cloned these 3 bitches in a laboratory in Seattle some 19-odd years ago. Not only that, we added a pinch of black genes so that they could do things like this. Hit it, girls.
Running through the raindrops.
That'll be enough. Thank you very much. All right, baby. Oh, hold on, Paula. Kill for AIDS. Sorry about that. Freaked out yet? Have I blown your mind, or you think you can still handle my job? Because if you're cocky and you think that you got hold of this, I got some more information for you. Would you like to know who killed Kennedy?
Yeah. Yes. Who killed Kennedy?
You ready for the truth, America? Here it comes. Oswald killed Kennedy. That's right. Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy alone and by himself. With a magic bullet. That's right, the bullet was actually magical. Magic does exist. We've known about this for some 2,000 years. That blew your mind right there, didn't I? Well, I'm really on a roll and I don't care because the world's going to end any day now. So I might as well introduce you to a good friend of mine, Bibble. Bibble, come on up here. America, this is Bibble. Bibble is a space creature that lives very far away in a galaxy called Nebulon 5. And he is solely responsible for the wave of technology we've seen over the last few decades. Cell phones, pagers, PlayStation 1 and 2. You might think it was the Japanese who were responsible, but anyone in the know knows that it was Bibble for shizzle and all by Bibble, because only Bibble can keep it so rude. Hey, Bibble, is the spaceship ready? We're ready to get out. Okay, me and Bibble are about to leave, but before we go, I just want to say there's no hope for the planet. There's no way to stop the asteroid, and you're all gonna die. Everyone except for me. And of course, Bibble, who's been so kind to let me accompany him on his spaceship. And I'm bringing those 3 cloned white women with me. Goodbye, America. I hope you all die in a fiery death when the meteor hits next Tuesday. Come on, Bibble, let's get out of here. End of the world.
there go Jeff Bezos right there.
Jeff Bezos and Bibble are gonna go shooting up into space.
They'll be like, y'all are fucked. Should have let me do more space. Yeah, man. That was a funny skit.
Yeah.
Those are 2. The Black Bush though is
Black Bush is good. Well, Black Bush
but
goes into the extremification of weather. I mean, he's talking about drilling oil in Black Bush. I mean, that's one of the key jokes.
So crazy, but I don't know, man. If it is popping off like that, it feels too big of a problem. I mean, people will be like, "Oh, you're thinking too small. Go to space. Whatever." But it just, I don't know what we're gonna do about that.
Earth's gonna be a problem. Earth's gonna be habitable for a while, I believe.
I definitely think that they're on the right path, right? Which is you better start sparking the fear. Like, you better really start pumping that fear button, because if you're gonna get us to do anything different, we better.
I think they might have hit the climate one a little bit early. Like Greta Thunberg came in and slapped that shit real hard, and it like skyrocketed for a second. And it's like, oof. I don't know though. You guys are talking about doing some really radical stuff, really short term. This is a long term problem. We should think like long term solutions. It's like when we started reading the Green New Deal on that one episode, and they were talking about just wild shit, like reconfiguring all the buildings in the whole country, and I was like, that's.
Yeah, any dude. Again,
you want my taxes for that?
This negotiation book again, so powerful. But he was just like, a what is nothing without a how, right? Like you say, get me an airplane, right? Okay, well, like how am I supposed to do that? So I think that's true. Coming up with a lot of solutions, like revamping this and changing all that. It's like, okay, but how are we gonna do that though? Yeah. Like who's gonna pay for it?
My roads are
who's
under
gonna do it?
Constantly.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like
I want my house to be under construction constantly. Yeah. Like Jesus.
But that's why it's always important to get everybody into crisis mode, because if you don't get them into crisis, people don't act unless it's like your building got to be on fire, and then you run like a chicken with your head the fuck.
That's why every single time there's a mass shooting, people are like gun control.
Yeah, right.
Because you've triggered their fear response.
Yeah, exactly.
When we should be constantly talking about that and dealing with it. The same way we should constantly be talking about like, well, let's not build any more houses with asbestos. Okay, we decided that at some point. So I mean, we could probably decide at some point to like figure out an efficient way to make a house with materials that are sustainable or whatever.
Figured that out.
Well, I'm just saying, like like the houses are being built however the fuck you want them to be built. You know what I'm saying?
But you might easily point to Jeff Bezos and be like, well, you're worried about space, but there's climate change, and he could easily be like, I am worried about climate change. This is me trying to solve all that shit.
Trying to leave y'all motherfuckers back on that scorched ass earth. See ya, me and Bibble out this bitch.
Yeah.
Bibble.
Because I don't know if like I said, if the solution is fix it or run, I'm almost 100% sure that we're gonna pick run.
Because we're gonna be fixing this thing like a 1968 Volkswagen. Yeah, it's gonna be falling apart.
There's the 4th alternator I put in this bitch this year. I can't do it anymore.
It's like, why do you keep fixing up that fucking Saturn? Like, just let it fucking die.
Well, I think that the way that will play out,
the way that Earth is an old junk beater car. It's a lemon. You get off,
pull
it's
over.
just spewing all that like smoke out the back of it. It's just like through space.
I think the way that it really plays out is if like you'll have to continuously fix it if you don't solve like the actual problem, because that's one thing is like with the car, I don't know why, but the way that they're designed, they just happen to have a lifespan, and maybe the Earth does too, but their argument is that we're shortening it. And so it's like, well, if that's the case, then you don't really have to find solutions to the back end problems if you figure out the solutions to the front end problems. And I think that that's really where a lot of people point towards. It's for me, it's like when you were talking about the houses, like, oh, if we find a way to build houses with more sustainable, like, no, there's empty houses all over the goddamn place. Just put the people in the houses that don't have people in them. And then,
well, see, that's the other issue though, and that's kind of what I'm pointing at too. Is like
why do we need more houses?
Even if we all agree that this is the issue, we're still gonna argue for years and years on what the solution will be. Right?
Exactly.
Like somebody will say, "Well, I think we should pump the poo back into the dirt," and then somebody else is gonna be like, "Well, that's a terrible idea. I think you should not build rockets. You should clear teachers' Amazon lists.
We should put the poop on the rocket."
Right? Yeah. So I've
actually read an article where they were talking about like, yeah, it'll be great when we can economically hurl our trash into space, and I'm like, what an amazing idea.
That's honestly feels like the best use of space.
That's not the best
I don't know much about space, but I think shooting pallets of debris into it that we don't want.
Right
anymore.
now you're using the ocean, so it's like, again, like, get it away from me. Like, get it off my planet.
Again, this is all back end problems. It's like, why don't we figure out a way to make the things that we need without creating the trash?
Yeah.
That's where the solution is, because then you don't have to put it in the ocean or space or anywhere else. If we could just figure out how to digest food without creating shit, then we're all good.
Yeah. But obviously that's never going to actually happen. Like, right? Like we always talk about there will always be waste, but the amount of waste there is 100% controllable, right? For me, that's what I look at it. I'm like, okay, well, how could we fix this? If I'm just giving my hypothetical solution, I'm like, it is an old car, right? Like, the Earth is an old car. But there are some 1932 Fords out there that are fucking pristine,
run better
and
than
they're
your
running better than your brand new son of a bitch, right? And so it's like, we're gonna use this Earth. There's gonna be waste, and there's gonna be ways that but there's a difference between using it and like driving your car for 6 years and never giving it an oil change and never, using the wrong gas, and like, you're really gonna wear it out quick. And I think that's
like,
where we're
instead of wrapping our 7-Eleven sandwiches in plastic, we should wrap them in banana leaves, and then that way when you go home, you can just take the banana leaf wrapping off, which looks just as well as plastic, and then you throw it in the compost instead of the trash.
How long does that last?
What do you mean?
Because you also got to get the sandwich from underground. It's been stored for 4 months in a bunker underground in a Washington mountain. You still got to transport it from there to the grocery store. It's got to sit in the grocery store for at least a week till you come by and pick it up, and then it's also got to sit in your fridge for another week before you actually consume it. So I mean, I hear you, but that plastic is doing a lot to make sure
what you got me with
was
the waste, the unforeseen consequences. Like what my mind went to was the fact that it's like, well, we burn coal so we could get fuel so we could keep everybody hot or cold depending on what the weather is. And then we got all this waste. Well, let's just mix it up in some concrete and live on it. It's like, what? Well, the unforeseen consequences, you're going to get fucking cancer in your brain. So it's like.
And the solution to that is obviously get comfortable in any temperature.
Well, that's a good, free, easy way to do it.
It's a free, easy way to do it.
Like I said, that's
hard though.
Uncomfortable. You don't like sweat. Sweat sucks. You know, you gotta remove the need to sweat from yourself.
I wonder how many people are on the planet that literally haven't sweated in like a long time. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think everybody sweats every day, but I'm just like, you know, like you said, you go through great lengths. We have no AC in our car right now, so you know, it's been. And I listen to Jessica on the daily, be like, "This fucking car." I'm just like.
I imagine the bourgeoisie just like covering themselves in powder.
Yeah.
like, oh, it's too hot outside.
Just having a man like carrying a fucking AC around.
Yeah, like Marlon Brando.
Which we did do. We've been doing like, you know, leaves, fan in your ass.
Yeah, that was a person's whole job back in the day.
Yeah, so
fan
like,
the Pharaoh while it was hot outside.
But it's that seeking of comfort. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. Like all of that comes from like comfort, right? Like riding a bike is difficult.
And shit.
Shit's difficult. Takes a lot of exercise, takes a lot of expenditure of energy, a lot less than just burning your old Ford, you know, F-250 down the road, you know. So
facts.
I think that's where me personally, and then we've talked about this a couple times. My stance has not changed. I think that yes, climate change is really starting to become an issue because I have seen, maybe it's anecdotal. Like you said, I don't know. I've never studied weather patterns for the last 150 years.
That's why I was saying it'd be nice to see like a really big study, like plot it all out. Because just because we have news of the fires and the floods happening all over the place, it's like
the news have.
How many times like.
Skewing
if the Native Americans who were living in California, you know, a long time ago could tell you now like how many fires they were having to deal with, maybe it's the same amount of fires. Like, like how do we know that there's really more fires than when we started checking the fires? Like, because that only goes back so far.
Yeah, let's get Al Gore on the case.
Yeah, I'm sure
I thought he's been on the case for like 40 years.
Yeah, he's like the Bernie Sanders of climate change.
Yeah.
He's been in the game for a long time.
What
really hasn't done
and
much.
it's just gotten worse the whole
time. Just really, literally has not put one thing into action at all.
Now I see Bernie as the climate guy. Now he's like the top 1% of all the carbon emissions come from China. Oh, Bernie.
Damn, son. Well, I hope we get it fixed. One or the other. Then I'll go to space.
Yes.
If it's all fire and brimstone here, I'm on the first.
Not
thing
fighting the
truck in
aliens.
space.
I'm not mining the asteroids. But if my Earth becomes a scorched hellscape, I'll probably.
And that's the name of the game. Is like you said, you don't want to be too early, but you don't want to be too late either. They run out of boats on your ass, so you got to be right in that sweet spot of like it's available, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, if you're driven by FOMO, you're gonna end up paying $28 million for a seat on
They found out your scheduling conflict
on the dick ship when you don't even want to go.
Yeah, I want to know so bad what that man had to do. It's all it burned a hole in my head. For
I think it was
days.
I'm standing right here. I'm gonna tell you right now. He was fucking scared. He was scared of his face being on television. He was scared of people knowing how much money he paid for it. He was scared of the actual fucking act because he was probably some out of shape ass billionaire. Yeah. He's probably like one of these dudes that those dudes that just like buy soccer teams.
Oh yeah. No. There's a lot of like There's this one dude in
I feel like most of
Formula
guys are pretty
1.
thin that I've seen though. Yeah. You know who's really fat?
It's easy to get fat when you're rich.
Yeah, I mean, look at the oligarchs.
Back in the day, those were the only fat people. Were the rich people.
I was saying it's just easy.
There was that line from Pain and Gain, where he was like, "You know who invented salad?
You know who invented salad? Poor people."
Mm-hmm. And like that blew my mind when I heard that. I was like, "Damn, that's a good point." Because when you were rich, you could eat whatever you wanted. So you had fucking fruit and goddamn meat and all that shit. And it's like, how long did you have to eat lettuce as a lettuce farmer before you went next door to the tomato guy and was like, yo, for the love of God, I'll give you some of my lettuce if you give me some of your tomatoes. And then they just did that with everybody. And they were like, dude, this is great.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny for that.
This fucking salad thing's amazing.
I want to talk a little bit about Las Vegas and gambling. Las Vegas and gambling, they're synonymous. There's only 2 states in America where you can just like gamble at casinos and fucking gas stations and anywhere basically that you want that has games, and that's Nevada and Louisiana, specifically Las Vegas. Now, being here, I started kind of looking into gambling.
Wait, what about Atlantic City though too?
No, see, that's the thing. So in all the other states and all the other places, they have like reservations. They have designated areas within their state. Statewide, it's only Nevada and Louisiana.
To caveat that too, though, Louisiana's actually got that too. Because I went to Shreveport one time. You can only do it on riverboats. Like you can't build a on land structure, so you can gamble out there, but only on boats, and that's why
You also just can't gamble in the street. You can't just like walk out,
just throw
pull out
dice
some
and-
dice and just start gambling.
shit!
in the
I
street.
did not know that was an illegal activity.
The way this works is that they want the tax revenue. That is the number one reason why gambling is legal. That's why 48 states have states lotteries because they want you to gamble because they want that revenue. Now, I started thinking about this because in 2017 they lifted the sports betting thing. So now you're allowed to bet on sports in America.
Yeah,
that
anywhere.
was
Online.
online. That was not allowed prior to 2017. So, and what kind of clued me in is I started seeing these commercials all the time, and they're funny because it'll be something like Jamie Foxx walking on the fountain in Las Vegas, and you'd be like, "Are you ready for action?" Fucking people playing football, basketball, all this stuff, and he's like, "Get in the game. You got some skin in the game." And it's all just like trying to get you to bet on sports, which is a fucking losing proposition. Like you're literally just giving your money away. Like it's just, you're getting that dopamine rush of spinning the fucking wheel or rolling the dice or whatever it is. Except in this one, you're rolling the dice of, I'm going to watch these grown men play this game and hope that what I think is going to happen is going to happen. So I started looking into like the revenue because I started thinking like, wow, you know, in the UK, in the United Kingdom, sports betting is legal. They don't take tax from sports betting, but there's a 15% cut that the company takes, and then that company will pay taxes. So the revenue in the UK, where sports betting is huge, is
for years.
In American dollars around like $4.5 billion annually, somewhere around there, like 5.1 annually, but it's in the billions. So then I looked up America. I was like, well, you know, we're way fucking bigger than the UK. And we just instituted sports betting and gambling again. Like if you had to gamble, or if you wanted to gamble, you had to go to, I got to go to the Cherokee Casino that's on the other side of my state, or I got to go to the river, or I got to go to Vegas,
or hit up some bookie,
Atlantic City, or do something illegal, you know, some black market shit. So in America, we got about $8.8 billion in revenue from sports betting in 1 year.
1 year.
So about double, right?
It's like when they legalized marijuana.
Yeah, and so I was thinking about that, and I was just like, that seems like a lot, right? But it's really not a whole lot. And it's really only happening in these small areas, mostly Vegas, Louisiana, and like Atlantic City. Like mostly like the big two, the big three. That's where the majority of it's coming in. And a lot of it's going to the states, because a lot of it is like states lotteries and shit like that. So it's like, who's profiting? Like, who's really profiting? Well, the government's profiting, and people who own the casinos.
Definitely.
Now, you could say that, I guess, that the employees, because they employ about 1.7 million people in America, like casinos and gambling and stuff like that. But we have two states that don't allow it. Did you know that? Hawaii, for whatever reason. Oh, because
it was sports betting.
Oh, no, just gambling.
Oh, I thought there was a lot of states that
there's 48 states. 48 states have some amount of gambling.
Oh, whether that be like a lottery or anything,
casinos, whatever.
Okay.
Hawaii, before it became a state, outlawed gambling. So I was like, oh, dope. Hawaii is just staunch. Like, no, we're not going to fucking gamble on this island. The other one, Utah, because of the Mormons. So that brings us to the moral quandary. Should you gamble? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it something that we should have legalized? Is it something that should be pushed underground, like a black market? Should it be that we are allowed to get? I mean, we're making money off of it. We can probably make even more money off of it if every state had casinos and every state had legal gambling, right? Much the same way that we have legal alcohol or legal tobacco in all of these states, which are also things that you could say are bad for society or bad for people.
Sure.
So why are we keeping it to these little like you can gamble on the lottery for the children. You know what I mean? Like, why can't I just gamble anywhere?
Yeah. You know, the only reason you can even do it in Vegas is because, you know, the mobsters set it up that way. You know?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about Nevada, you know, and that's why it's really all like they're in cahoots. Like you said, the business owners, the casino people are also the government here, and they make sure that it runs in Nevada.
They came in the 30s. They came in the 30s. They built all the casinos and the gaming industry. They built it from the ground up. There was nothing.
It was
here.
a desert. It was a desert.
Yeah, no, seriously, it was just like mining towns and shit. And they just came in
bomb
and
test sites.
Yeah, that's another interesting fact about Las Vegas. I've been doing a lot Las Vegas digging.
Yeah, digging.
Because gambling
It's
got me into
interesting.
Las Vegas.
It's interesting.
And then I started thinking, like, why is Vegas the one place with all the casinos?
Like you can do anything.
Why? Why is it? Why?
Dude,
what is so fucking special?
Coronavirus only shut down this place for all of about 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Before you were right back into the casino. Like they were just like straight up like, I don't give a fuck. Like y'all do it. Y'all shut down whatever you want to, but this casino shit running.
Yeah,
regardless.
no doubt.
I don't give a fuck.
No
like it's
doubt.
not stopping for nothing, bro. 24/7, 7 days a week. That money machine is trucking.
So why is Vegas different? And it's, I started looking into it.
Built that way.
Huge military presence. So when they built Nellis Air Force Base, which used to be called something differently, but then it got rebranded. Now you have a large concentration of soldiers in your gambling town, right? Who's going to gamble? Fucking soldiers. Who used to do it in the West? It was fucking cowboys and like miners and shit. Now you also have the Hoover Dam. So you got the Hoover Dam up there. So when they were constructing the Hoover Dam, you want to talk about money? Bro, Las Vegas was hand over fist making money off of the Hoover Dam because you had all those workers, all that construction that took years and years to do. And where were they spending their money?
Yeah. No, they still
there
got
wasn't nothing to do out there with the Hoover Dam.
They make so much money they built another strip. You know what I mean? So they definitely got it popping. But I definitely think it's that way because it was built that way. I really want to interject this little source that I have about this because I actually ended up watching this whole documentary on this like randomly, and I would encourage anybody who's interested in this topic to watch this because it even talks about the formation of Vegas and all that stuff. But I'm just gonna pull out this little excerpt to bring back to the point you were talking about how big the gambling industry is because it actually blew me away. I didn't know this.
The gambling industry is built on losers, and it's one of the biggest industries in the world. It's worth slightly more than sports, which we really like betting on, and it dwarfs other forms of entertainment. In the 10 countries where people spend the most gambling, across Europe, East Asia, America, and Australia, the average adult loses hundreds of dollars a year doing it. But that's just the average.
That was when he said that average. Like the United States is right there at $400 per adult. Every adult in America, on average, loses $400 a year gambling. So not everybody's doing it, right? But like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
What that means is that there's a small section of the population that is losing so much money that it even because the average includes people who don't gamble at all.
Gamble, who never put in a single dollar. Yeah. But I mean, that 400 is a lot, bro. When you're talking about size, like when they show here all the different industries, this shit blew me away, bro. Like, you know how much we go on and on about how music's like the coolest shit, like the coolest entertainment. You think that all these musicians are making all this money, and it's the 20 bill compared to 400 and like gambling is, like he said, dwarfing every other form of industry that we have out there.
And it's probably because video games, movies, and TV and music don't have their own cities that have their own skyscrapers dedicated to it.
To that one activity.
That's a good point. Like, there's casinos. Yeah, there's movie studios, but they don't have 70 fucking floors and a giant fucking Eiffel Tower out front. You know what I'm saying?
But at 460 billion, though, it's like I can't say. I mean, those are a product of what we want to do.
Almost like $500 billion.
We want to gamble, like you said, whether the city's there or not. Like we want to do it. It's a lot like drugs.
And we combined, like they showed sports. We combined gambling, and sports. The two $500 billion fucking businesses. We just smushed them together 3 years ago. I think we're gonna see how people were talking about like boycott the NFL. The NFL was gonna die and this and that. NBA, nobody wants to watch it. That shit's only going to grow. It's only going to grow. There's only going to be more teams.
Dude,
they're not gonna cap it. You know what I'm saying? Like
50% of my sports analysis now is like, what's a good bet? And like it makes sense now because I always wondered. I was just like, when did this, like when I was watching the Super Bowl this year, actually, matter of fact, it's coming up, Brady, Mahomes, all that stuff, tons to talk about in the game. Everything I was always watching was just like
betting.
Yeah, about betting about the coin toss, who's more likely to, all these different prop bets you can take, and it was just like literally 50% of the breakdown was more about like what's a good bet and what's not a good bet, and I was like, yo, this is wild. And then we talk about this, like, it's because that's becomes an open market for Americans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you watch soccer on British television, they have the odds right there.
Yeah.
Like, everybody cares about that shit because
Yeah.
a lot of people are doing sports betting. In America, that's just starting to pop up. Like, I remember when fantasy sports was just starting to, like, really hit its stride.
Yeah.
And we started seeing
that
in our
every
television, where it was like,
ESPN
you know, this is what they think they're going to get in fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
That's now tied directly to making money, or in this case, losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, too.
Yeah.
I wonder what it is about the gambling. Like, maybe it's like the dopamine or something like that. Because I've you know, like with drugs, like clearly, like you get high. So
you get
like,
high off
there's
gambling.
Yeah, it's a loot crate. It's cracking a fresh pack. It's whatever activity that you don't know the outcome of that could have a really good outcome
for you.
It's the roll of the dice. Like that's what the addiction
It's like when they talk about in Pavlov's dogs, you know, it's like the anticipation of the food becomes more the trigger for the response than even getting the food. And so you really get addicted to that possibility that something big could happen for you here, you know, even if you know it's not likely or what, but it could happen. And every time you punch that little button, it triggers that again. And so, you know, people really, it's so hyper addictive.
It's like they've
you know?
monetized nothing but pure anticipation.
Yeah. It's like watching, like, I get some of that from watching my team play.
Yeah.
Without having any skin in the game other than I fucking love this team. And I get that dopamine hit. Like, I can think of like dozens of different times where I've lost my shit after some crazy goal or some crazy win where I'm like, I just won $1 million. Like, no, my life hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, but you do have skin in the game, right? It's like your passion or like your pride.
You got that
in
dopamine
team.
burst. I mean,
you know,
catching my nut or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Because I think that like you that feeling that you have now would be elevated if you had money on the game.
Yes,
you know,
I
like
agree.
if you throw an extra 500 on there, it's gonna turn into like a lifer. You know, I have a personality that's completely hooked on this type of shit, right? Like people who are diagnosed ADHD, Aries too, like we just tend to be very impulsive and reckless and looking for dopamine hits a lot, and so it's easy for them to fall into addictions. I've seen this, dude. I love gambling's probably one of my favorite things to do. It's almost the reason why I didn't move to Vegas for a long time, because I was just like, dude, before we moved here, me and Jessica took 6 vacations here. Like out of all the, I think we might have only taken 8 vacations ever as a relationship, and 6 of them were here. And dude, I just love it, man. You know, I just love it. I love that thrill. I love that rush of like. And what's scary though is they taken it, and just like anything, right? Like anything that's good, and they distill it down to this hyper like active, you know, like. The machines, dude, those slot machines are nasty.
That's where I wanted to bring it next.
They're
the psychological and physical, like the tricks,
the manipulation
they use. The first time I went to like, what's it, Fremont Street, where they got the big television screen above you, where it's like, it's nighttime out. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sleepy. Walking on Fremont Street, and it's like, welcome to 2 p.m. Would you like some booze?
It's wide
open. Like, whoa.
Light everywhere.
Holy shit.
The design of all the casinos, like you get lost in a casino all the time trying to find a bathroom, trying to find an exit. Designed that way.
Designed
on
that way,
purpose,
absolutely.
So that you'll get stuck in a machine again.
I heard that they make the carpets look like that because in case somebody throws up on it, it kind of just blends in with the carpet.
Because it stimulates you. The patterns on the carpet are stimulating and designed to keep you active and awake. The reason that there's no windows in a casino is so that you don't know what time of day it is, and that you can stay in there.
The free drink lady walking around, so you'll get sauced.
Everything is designed in a way for you to get sucked in and to get stuck in.
There's a lot of béarnaise sauce on the casino.
And it was an industry that was like, the literal mafia was like, how much béarnaise sauce can I have?
Yeah.
Give me as much as I can carry. I'm going to dump it all over this addiction. That's all it was.
Yeah. And it's such a great play, and that's why they won't shut it down for a second, right? All of your revenue and all your profit depends on the fact that the machine just runs, right? Like you have a built-in 2% advantage or whatever your little percent advantage is. And so it's not about any one flip of the coin or one punch of the machine. It's about the fact that over time you're always making money, right? Like you can't lose money because you have the edge.
Right.
And so if they shut down,
that
could,
play.
it skews everything, you know? So that's why they're always constantly trying to keep that machine
They're
running.
literally perpetual motion machines.
Yeah.
Like, look at sports. It's like, well, we're going to spend all this money to get this really good team, and then we're going to sell jerseys. We're going to sell tickets. We're going to fucking sell merchandise and fucking concessions and all this stuff. You're going to make all your money back.
Yeah.
And then buy even better players
Yep.
and get even bigger stadiums and sell even more tickets. And it just goes and goes and goes. That's why there's such a lucrative business.
Also interesting that these are the oldest businesses. Right? Like, I mean, if you really think about it, as far as entertainment goes, let's take it all the way back before TV or for a fancy little machine to record your every action.
Gladiators,
like,
ready?
You know what I'm saying? Like, who can fight to the death better, you know? Or being like, yo, I bet you 10 melons that I could throw this stick better than you can or further than you can. And so, I mean, I think that that's built into it here in some way it's archaic, you know? It's archaic because from what I can gather about humanity and stuff, and you talk about like, why do we gamble or what, it's like, what else you can do? You know, what
especially
else
out here in the desert.
It just period in life, you know, like it's like you got to spend your value beans on something. We're all just looking for a thrill. You know, we're all looking to get our little rocks off before it's all gone. And so you're going to do something, you know, and I used to think about it all the time. You said we stare at the stars. That's going to get boring for a while. Games. That's why I think life's a game. We've, since the dawn of time, been trying to come up with some little game to like entertain ourselves, you know, and like gambling and sports were definitely the first two. And so it makes sense that they're the biggest, you know.
And like, I'm pretty sure the mafia figured out real quick that this is a great place to solve problems. You just have the desert all around you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what allowed them to get to this point of power and status that they can now manipulate the system how they want to, right? Because like that's how I think it's gotten to be. And I didn't notice this until I moved here. Did not know, like coming here and seeing how they dealt with the pandemic, I was like, oh, these motherfuckers got this shit locked up. Like they're not even answering to the federal government, you know? They're just like, yo, we're out here, like, and we're making that money to where we're gonna do whatever we want to do. You know, it's crazy, but
yeah, it's like the same thing. Maybe just because it's not localized, but it's the same thing. Like any sort of big industry, like the oil industry or something like that. Like they don't shut down the oil factories for COVID.
Yeah, right. It's like gotta keep. But it's
going.
weird though. Like you know, all the things that got categorized in essential business. So we made this term. It's like, if it has to happen, then it can happen. But if it does, and we were like, oh no, gambling has to happen.
Yeah,
like it has to.
I mean, I guess you can make an argument that oil production does have to happen.
Yeah.
That's like definitely essential. But
you just losing your money, like just how is like alcohol consumption? You know, liquor stores could stay open because it was essential.
maybe we're thinking about it in like a 2D space. You know, like if you think about how important gambling is, especially to some place like Nevada and Las Vegas and stuff like that, then maybe the essential aspect of it was not the activity, but the fact that all of the tax that gets collected on top of it and stuff like that. Like if gambling were to shut down in the state of Nevada,
Vegas would shut down.
Like like pretty much the whole state just stops doing anything because that's like where they get their money from.
I will say this too, having worked in the grocery industry and in a state where you only had the state lottery. I think we have Indian reservations where you can gamble up in the mountains of North Carolina. But most people, to get there, and let me tell you, there was plenty of addicts coming in there with running their lotteries.
See them on there, the scratch tickets.
Not even just the scratch tickets, too. I knew guys, they would come in, they'd have an envelope, and they'd have a stack this big of the little Scantron sheets. And they would run them every week. The same sheets. They'd have their system in place. They would spend hundreds of dollars.
Just waiting for it
They
to
would
hit.
win some money because, I mean, broken clock is fucking right twice a day. If you fucking gamble enough, you're going to win eventually. But this was something that had a significant revenue. Just in that I was at a small little grocery store on a bad side of a small little town. And that shit was reeling in the years, buddy.
Yeah.
Reeling in the years.
And that's when I actually questioned that. Like, is this a good thing? Like, it's like when I go to Vegas or something like that, they've packaged it in that way that it feels just
amazing.
Spectacular, right? Like it's like, oh, this is amazing. Look how awesome
it's
it's
a
beautiful.
Spectacle. They make it a spectacle.
When I see that 75-year-old dude just running it up at the 7-Eleven, like he's just on like some machine in the corner and he's just
fish machining.
And I'm just like,
fish machine.
Yeah, why would you do that at the 7-Eleven? Like, if you live in Vegas, like I can understand if you're somewhere where like you can't gamble in other places or like it's far, but like
in the
Ralph's,
bro.
Yeah, like if you at the grocery store, like literally there's a casino 15 minutes down the road. Like even if you don't have a car, like that's a 35, 40-minute bus ride, and you could be at a place that looks way better.
I think it's overpriced. I think it's the price. Me
Maybe,
and
yeah,
Jessica talked
yeah.
about this because we went to like a local casino rather than going on a strip because we didn't want to pay for parking. You know,
That makes
it's like
sense.
those little things that locals would do. So I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. I'm like, you need it so bad that you'll hang out in this dingy 7-Eleven for hours.
Not even just
And
that.
it's like-
They'll stand outside of the fucking Great Clips and fucking roll fucking turtle shell games.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I got sucked into one
Yeah.
of these and it scared the shit out of me because people were shoving money in my hand. It was obviously a scam,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they're still out there. They were gambling. That's
Yeah.
what it was. I mean, yeah, it was a scam game to try to get your money.
Yeah.
But it's a game. It's gambling.
That's how all
That's
gambling.
how all gambling is.
2%. Like that's what the.
Oh, the whole industry is a scam, right?
scam.
Like the whole thing is a scam. It's like I told you, you don't come out of there a winner. Like you just don't.
I
Like,
remember-
because of the way it's designed. You're
I
not gonna
remember
make
this
money.
guy made this joke. I can't remember where it was. I heard this all the way back in like high school, but he was saying gambling. He was saying that it's a much more economically sound thing to just take your money and put it in the toilet and flush it, because that would not cost you the resources and time of going to the store and buying something. He was talking about lottery, like playing the lottery.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're much better off. Like, you literally save money by just flushing dollar bills down the toilet than if you were to drive to the store and purchase a lottery ticket.
It's the ultimate like way to keep the poor masses docile.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, no. Just spend $2 or $3 every day,
Yeah.
and you might win 10 million.
Dude, it's crazy. It's the little dingle dang, and what breaks my heart the most.
Little dingle
Is it, all right? The little
It is.
stick.
It's,
You
you
might
want
catch
some of
it.
this?
You might catch it.
Ooh,
It's
you're
tied
too
to your
slow.
back, but you can't see it. You're just like, nah, I get it. I'm gonna get it. But what it scares me is how many people think that that's actually a solution to their problems too.
Yeah.
Like, you ever talk to people and they'd be like, well, if I won the lottery, it's like people's favorite like term. Like, and I always think, I'm just like, why don't you just make the money? Like, you don't have to. Like, there's so many ways to get rich besides just winning the lottery. But people really be thinking that's like how you get rich. Like, that people really think that's how you get rich. Is you
No,
just
I
win
think
the
it's an
lottery.
unconscious calculation where they realize that they could win the lottery and make all that money without having to do anything.
Yeah.
Without having to change their lifestyle
Yeah.
or habits in any way. Like, that's what's appealing about the idea
The
of
windfall.
making rich off the lottery.
It's the classic free.
Yeah.
Like,
it
you
doesn't-
get this free. Oh, it's free. I want some. I only have to pay $1. Like,
Yeah.
That's not free.
Right. Yeah. But you fall in love with the idea of it, though. Is my
Yeah.
point. You fall in love with the idea of wealth coming to you, or the idea of being rich, rather than, spending that money, spending that time, spending that energy, and just making it happen for you. There's a lot of times where me and Jessica be in the casino, and I just be like, all right, let's go home and play our own casino game, which is like, is this furniture going to turn us a profit or not, right? There's a risk in that too, so you can get those same rocks, but it's just the easy loop. Like you said, they make that's the part that kills me. I don't care about gambling. Like you said, that's almost seems inherent. Like, you ain't going to stop it or make it, but then they always just got to figure out how to turn it into this parasitic, nasty machine that feeds off of you,
Yeah.
and gets you addicted to it and makes you like.
Well, because some of the morsels of it are true. Like, it's a game of skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is a game of skill, but it's also a game of chance. So there's variability in there. So it's like, yeah, a really good poker player is probably going to go in and make some money, but even that really good poker player could just get shit hands all night.
Yeah.
So it's like it's some amount of actual skill involved and some amount of chance, and some games have more skill and less chance, and some people, that's where you get your thrill. It's a competition. Like, if they had fucking Glocker that I could go and fucking play in where I could win money, I'm like,
Let's get it in.
like, I get my dopamine rush because like I'm trying to beat the game. It's the same reason I like playing against a computer on computer games. I like to just show them who's boss.
Yeah.
You're not gonna defeat me. I'm a human.
Which sucks, because then you get in that money hole too, where you're trying to win it back, and you're like, no, I'm gonna get it. Like, I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna beat this, and then it sucks you in that way too, making it a competition, being like, come on, beat me.
I had an evaluation at the VA where I talked to somebody about mental health and stuff, and one of the first things the guy asked me was like, do you gamble a lot? Being that a veteran living in Vegas, is gambling? Do you have a problem with gambling?
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about, bro? Like
I don't gamble ever.
I was like, I've literally never gambled in my life. Like,
It's
literally.
so
Like,
connected. It's so connected. Having a poor mental health or mental distresses and stuff, and being addicted to gambling, like peas in a pot. Like being in the military and smoking cigarettes, baby. It goes hand in hand. Like, Like, it's crazy. So I'm not surprised.
I've never
that he
seen a
asked it.
mentally stable person lose all of their money at a gambling, like in a casino.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen.
I always think about the Simpsons episode with Marge and Homer, and they go to or was it Family Guy? I'm trying to remember which one it was. It might have been. They might have both done casino episodes.
You want a boat or you want this mystery box?
Yeah.
Well, they've both been on there for fucking like 30 seasons.
The mystery box could have been a boat.
Yeah. Ours might be a boat. Yeah, I remember that episode now.
That was Family Guy, though.
That was Family Guy. That
great.
was too funny.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. But there is something to be said about the ride, because it's like, it's alcohol to me, right? And that's why it always falls in that same category about the morality of it, and if it's
should we be giving it to our kids?
Right? You know what I mean? All
Loot
that
boxes.
stuff. Like, it's definitely a drug of some sort, right? And I love drugs. I think drugs have so much use in society. You know what I
Lots
mean?
of
Like,
value in drugs.
There is value. Some of my greatest experience in life came from drugs. Some of my most profound like revelations have come from drugs. Like, they're fun, you know, but it always ties back to my things about like, it's fun if you want it. It really, really sucks if you need it. It becomes a slave. And that's what I've seen in gambling. Like, dude, taking $10 and putting it on a game, you know, like on a football match or on a fight or something, like, it makes it more thrilling. You do have like your own stake in this now. Like, something, not only do you watch them win, right? You're not Jeff Bezos watching him take a rocket. There's an American sticker on the side of that rocket now. Like, I got money in this, and it makes it so much more entertaining and fun and thrilling. And so I like that, you know, like I said, I gamble, you know, but it's so hard to walk that line.
Should we allow gambling in our video games? Because I mean, it's so I bring this up because as far back as like, you know, the early days of in-game transactions, you had loot boxes, loot crates. Like, I mean, we can go back to like 2011, 12 playing Call of Duty, and you could get skins and things, and you would pay real life money into this game to spin the wheel on this loot crate because you might get, like with CS, the big one is with CSGO. CSGO is a really popular PC first-person shooting game. They have skins in CSGO that are worth tens of thousands of dollars, and
like
real dollars.
But you can only get them.
You can only get them in the game, and you can only get them through spinning these loot crates. And then once they hit the market, then you have a secondary market, just like you have with shoes and trading cards and things like that. Sure. So that also boosts the price up. But what you're essentially saying is, hey kids, children of all ages, get your mommy's credit card and spin the wheel because you might get something you want. And that has been instituted in like every fucking video game now, to the point where it's like ridiculous. I just saw they put out a League of Legends style, what are the MOBA? Is that what they're called? For Pokemon. Pokemon just released one.
Sick.
Right? Free to play.
Free
to play Pokemon MOBA. Instead of like breaking towers, you like dunk a ball. It's like a whole ass thing, right?
What I got going on for the rest of my day.
But do you know what you could? Do you know what you could do at level 1 if you spend a couple $100? Max out all of your stats.
Oh yeah.
And just walk in and
pay to play.
Cleave them like a knife.
Not mad at that. Not mad at that. I mean, on a video game standpoint, but I don't think it's like.
See,
morally
the only negative aspect that I see you bringing into this for me is the idea that like kids will use their parents' money without telling them or something like that. Whereas I'm like, well, that could really happen with any purchasable product. It just so happens that like if you connect your credit card to your son's video game and then he buys shit without you knowing, or if you like that kid that bought all those popsicles at one time, like if you let your kid onto your computer and he has access to your Amazon account and he knows how to work it, and then he buys a bunch of popsicles for $2,000 worth of popsicles. That's kind of your fault.
Kind of two separate issues though, because like I point out the Pokemon one because it's a little ridiculous, but that doesn't have the loot crates. That doesn't have the gambling aspect.
That's what you're more saying.
But all of the other games,
CSGO.
Well, in one of them, you know, you're not gambling in it. You're just literally putting in $1 and you're getting
I'm saying, what's the difference with them using the money to gamble rather than just buying?
That's
something?
been shown to be addictive.
Yeah.
So you're introducing
you can
them.
be addicted to buying things.
I agree, but if you don't have, let's say, like you are a kid and you're impressionable because your brain hasn't developed yet, and you learn to pull the slot. Just pull the slot.
Which we already said is like a huge dopamine thing that you can get
that's not a
addicted to.
competition. That's not like a fun game that you can play, a puzzle that you can solve. It's literally dopamine hits based on just that transactional of like, I might get something big. I might get something big.
It literally is a slot machine, like embedded or hidden in the game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's good because the same thing happened to Hot Topic the other day. I was like, they had selling $5 mystery bags. And I was just like, they're like, could be anything, could be an earring, could be this, and I'm just like, yeah, but wouldn't I just buy the thing I want? You know, but they're trying to get in on that. There's people who like that, like, surprise feeling. You
It's
know?
why that when people buy trading, like when trading card games come out, the trading card game doesn't say you can buy any of
card.
these
No,
individual
you got to buy a
cards.
pack.
You got to buy a pack.
Yep.
You got to crack that pack and pray to God you get the thing that you want.
And that leads you to keep trying and getting a bunch of shit you don't need. Yeah. Dude, incredible system. The only thing I kind of do have a problem with it in video games is video games tend to be geared towards kids, you know? Like Hot Topic's not necessarily geared towards kids, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't go in the
kids
like
of a certain age.
Yeah, I mean definitely kids are shopping there, and then but I don't think you're gonna get trained on the $5 mystery bag at Hot Topic. Like I don't see anybody going in there every day trying to get their special bag. Whereas because I don't have any problem with gambling. I had the problem with the hyper focused, hyper locked in thing. So just directly targeting that at kids, knowing how much of a manipulative tactic it is sketch to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes along with any of the ways, the multitude of ways that we as society, not just in America, take advantage of kids.
Take advantage of everybody. But
we take advantage of their naivety.
Yeah.
We take advantage of their addictive personality. Because kids are, they can easily get addicted to fucking, go watch somebody play Fortnite or Minecraft and then be like, hey, you can take fucking V-Bucks. You know what I'm saying? And spin the wheel. Kids love that shit.
I mean, yeah, but it does. I mean, dude, my kid learns everything in Robux now. Like, if I pay her any allowance or anything, it immediately gets converted into Robux. She tried to bet me. So funny. She tried to bet me 1 million Robux on something while we were playing. We were doing something in the pool or something, and I was like, I mean, you realize 1 million Robux is only like $500. Like, you get $1 million, you can have like 10 billion Robux. But she doesn't care about regular tender, legal tender anymore. It's like in-game tender is like where it's at. So that's a whole nother conversation. But
that's a slight, just to make a point, like in the way that you said that, you were like, she doesn't care about real tender anymore. It's like she never cared about real tender. The real tender is only valuable to her in the sense that it can get her Robux, because real money means nothing to her in the sense that she doesn't have to use it to survive. And so I think that with the kids, it's interesting because they have to use their parents' money to access these things. Like if the kid's old enough to be working and having their own money to do this stuff, then let the kid waste his fucking money on loot boxes.
Now they're just an addicted adult.
Yeah,
I'm saying that
which is totally acceptable.
Kids. Yeah, like it starts when you're a kid for a lot of these kids. Like I know guys who are in their 20s who started off, playing fucking Loot Crate Modern Warfare when they were like 13, and now those are the same motherfuckers buying skins in Apex Legends. Those are the same motherfuckers spending their money on fucking digital games.
I won't sit here and act like FIFA's pack system didn't kind of become that for me after a while. Like, I spent a lot of my time.
I was addicted to Magic Packs. I'll tell you that shit right now. 100%.
Spent a lot of my time and an exorbitant amount of my money just opening up packs.
You really went with the pack route?
I did.
I just spent the money on the coins and then went into the thing and bought the guy I wanted on the little secondhand.
But it wasn't like I was looking for one guy. I was trying to
get my dopamine hit.
I was trying to build the whole team.
That's what I'm saying though. Like even the whole team. Like I knew the 11 guys that I wanted on the team, so I would just go in and
but you're forgetting about that part that John was talking about earlier. It's not like I just want anything in the pack. I want Lionel Messi, and Lionel Messi is a fuck ton of coins, my guy.
That's true.
So it's like, do I want to go with the chance, or do I want to I probably spent as much money trying to get Messi as it would have cost to just buy him. But it's that thrill of the chase of being like, I'm going to get him in the pack.
And now you add some competition in too. Go to a Friday Night Magic, pay $5 to get into the tournament, try to 5-0 the tournament so you could get half a box of packs. So now you're adding the skill level in, and then you have your crack each one and you get doo-doo garbage. And then you spend all those hours and all that. You go back every Friday.
But you go
every Friday.
Because one day that pack might.
They used to always ask me when I would win tournaments, and I didn't win a ton, but I won a lot. And they would constantly, I'd always prize out. And they would always be like, do you want store credit or do you want packs? And I'd be like, give me the motherfucking packs. I was like a little pack goblin, bro, all the time because it's that that dopamine
it's
hit.
The way. Damn, I can't. I gotta play the thing we were alluding to earlier, the Family Guy clip.
Oh yeah,
it just hits too hard. Cause it's literally this is what they're talking about in this episode, like. Sorry.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Griffin. Now, I know you've been here all day, so if you'll just sign this contract without reading it, I'll take your blank check, and you won't not be not loving your timeshare before you know it.
Well, look, Slick, we're not going to buy your lousy timeshare, all right? Now, where's my boat?
Oh, hold on. You have a choice. You can have the boat or the mystery box.
What, are you crazy? We'll take the boat.
No, not so fast, Lois. A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. You know how much we've wanted one of those.
Then let's just...
We'll take the box.
We'll take the box. You gave up a boat for free tickets to a crappy comedy club.
Come on, Lois. You're acting like this is the first time I've ever done something stupid. You remember the time I was supposed to get that boat? A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything.
Oh,
it could even
great
be
callback.
a boat. You know how much we've wanted one of those.
Then let's just...
We'll take the box.
Peter, that just happened 10 minutes ago.
Who cares? I'll bet nobody took the boat. Who could resist the call of the mystery box?
Yeah.
Hey, look at me. I'm the man in the boat. All right.
Joe, look to the right. It's the Griffins.
We're nautical now, baby. That's called starboard, but I'll forgive you because you sex me up. Now give me some sugar. Hey, neighbors! Where's your boat?
We didn't take the boat. We took the mystery box. Hop in.
Dude, dead ass exactly what we're talking
I don't know.
about.
Maybe it's just because I've never been like, whether it be FIFA or when I was into Pokemon trading cards or anything like that. Like like the mystery box gambling, like the allure of. Maybe it's just because I'm so selective with the stuff that I want that it's like I don't want anything. I want this one thing. So like, why would I go get anything when I could just easily go get the one thing?
Oh man, I used to get so much dopamine out of like, I know I need this one rare. There's only one rare per pack.
Yeah.
What if it's in this pack?
Yeah.
And then sometimes, you get it.
Yeah. Sometimes it hits.
Sometimes you hit that
Dude,
fucking
sometimes
rare.
you hit jackpots in the casino, and boy, you give it back, but you hit though. You remember that.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know.
You
I
remember that
definitely,
next
to
time.
answer your question, I definitely wouldn't. Well, I'm not for criminalizing anything like that, anyways. But it just like that seems like there's many better solutions in my opinion in whether it be from like parental guidance or mentor guidance or just there's lots of other ways that you could solve that rather than like criminalizing it. Because like you said, otherwise you're just going to push it into like a black market type thing. And then your video games are going to
I wouldn't say
suck.
criminalize. I would say more like what they did when they stopped advertising cigarettes to children. It's more so like, don't target them.
Don't take the cheap shot.
Don't
Because
target
then,
the kids.
that totally worked because then they just invented vapes.
I will say this, when it comes to like cigarette smoking, the amount of youth that are cigarette smoking now as compared to when they used to advertise to the youth, huge fucking
Big
difference.
Big true.
Huge difference.
How much of that difference does vaping take up?
I don't know, but it's definitely a cultural shift. Definitely a cultural shift.
And I'm not
away
going to
from-
sit here and say that
It
vaping's
required
not-
them to create vaping to solve the gap that it created.
So then that's what I'm saying, though, is that we always come up with these back-end solutions where it's like, why don't you just responsibly watch your child and teach them that it's not a good thing to smoke and be a healthy person rather than having to always come on the back end of the corporation seducing them into some crazy shit because you weren't paying attention to what was going on.
Now, I get that because we get in this conversation a lot, and I agree. But at the same time, it's like, you know how it's funny how this whole analogy that goes on, right? Like, everybody else gets the boat, but Peter's like the dumb guy.
Yeah.
You know? Like, Peter's like the dumb guy in the show, right? He's not as smart as everybody else. Is his whole shtick, and he picks the mystery box. Yeah. That almost is a play on that, too. It's like, yeah, you know, sure, there's a lot of us out there who are going to be up to speed. They watch TAID3I and they know what to look for. And so they're like, all right, you know, like this gambling shit's a scam, you know, and they're going to avoid it. But there's a lot of Peter Griffins out there who are just going to fall right into the shit because they're just dummies. You know,
No,
just trip and
I
fall.
don't get me
And
wrong.
like,
I definitely don't like all the like weird manipulation and making the casinos hard to get
Predatory
out of.
practices.
Yeah,
Predatory
like,
practices.
I definitely don't like that. So it's not like I'm saying it like, yeah, fucking let your kids go into the casinos and gamble away their allowance or whatever. But like, for me, it's never like trying to fix other people's greed just seems like an insurmountable task as compared to educating the people that they're supposedly taking advantage of.
I don't want to regulate them. I just wish they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, same with me. I wish they wouldn't do it.
I'm not sitting here trying to be like, you can't do it, because I don't want to do that to people, like, but at the same time, I just wish that they didn't do it.
I just wish that they were better people.
Yeah.
I just wish the video game industry could take a fucking hard look at themselves and be like, we're making a lot of money off of these children getting addicted to this little fucking wheel we're letting them spin.
Yeah. Like, because all we're asking you to do is...
That's such a small part of those videos.
Well, that's my point, though. It's like, all you're asking to do is just take off this little lottery. You're still making hella money off selling skins. Nobody's mad at you for selling a skin. Like, you got a product you sell. But just take that little, like, gambling trick that you put in there, knowing that just because it was going to maximize your profits, And so it's like, I get it, because... arguably, what we're always getting into is whose responsibility is it, right? Is it your responsibility, the company's responsibility, or the government's responsibility, right? And we're always trying to shift that around. Well, you should just take care of your kids. Well, you should not, this and that. For me, it often lies on the company, because you're doing it on purpose. Like if you're just doing some shit and you didn't know and you're like, whatever, this and that, and you have the biggest impact, right? How many people I got to educate on not taking the mystery box as compared to educating one CEO on not going through predatory practices? You know what I mean? Like, to me, I feel like that's the choke point. Now, again, I'm not going to put the responsibility on the government to break your arm to make you do what I think you should do. But when I look at that triangle of responsibility, for me, I give the lion's share to the company and say, you should be more ethical and less greedy, and being able to be willing to take that 25% pay cut so that you're not seducing children or seducing dummy adults.
And to be clear, I don't necessarily think that they should take away in-game transactions or paywalls, but I do think that gambling practices in the video games, I'm not the biggest fan.
It's the reason you don't let kids go into a casino. Like there's an age limit on casinos, and I'm like, as much as I don't like regulation, I also wouldn't be like, yeah, strip it up, let the 10-year-olds up in there, because it just has a different impact, on a developmental mind. Somebody's put it like this to me when they were talking about it with your kids, like they're not aware. Like kids are consciously not aware. It takes time to gain awareness of yourself, what's going on around you, what's going on in your world, and so they do need to be protected. You got this like little brain that has no fucking clue what's going on, and it's going to learn what's going on, and it needs to be protected. Once it learns what's going on and it wants to make its own autonomous decisions, by all means, fucking get out here and be, like we said, be an addicted adult. That's on you. But you got to be careful with those kids especially, and it's a struggle for sure. It's a struggle.
And we're at the day and age where our 3-year-olds are playing games.
Yeah.
Like we're at a day and age where every 5-year-old has a tablet full of thousands of games.
Yeah, from the minute. Yeah.
I mean, how far back is it going to go? How far back are loot boxes going to start hitting our kids?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to start at 6 years old spinning the loot box crate on Roblox?
Yeah. Because it's tough, like the internet be like that, I wish that I could police my kid on the internet, Not that I can't, but it's just like it's a full-time job alone, just trying to, you can't even parental block it. You can't even just put like a parental block type thing on it anymore. So, it sucks like that. That's always encroaching on that. It's always like, how can we get you little dollars? How can we steal your time from you? And it's like, well, sorry, you weren't smart enough to outwit our trap. It's like, so you get to go. Like, you're the one that gets capitalized on because you didn't figure out how to be the capitalizer, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, just capitalizing off of the fact that some amount of people are just dumb.
Yeah, that are just gonna fall, like march right into it, just trip and fall in it, and I'm just like, why take the low hanging fruit? I'm just saying that it's harder, but it's possible.
I mean, it's biological.
What? Oh yeah,
to take the low hanging fruit. Yeah, nobody climbs up a tree to get the shit at the top. If you got shit right there at arm's reach.
It's true.
I mean, but that's why I say there's no way to get that out of people. That's just human nature. And so so that's what I'm saying is like even if you convince a few CEOs of corporations or whatever, the kids are going to grow up to be CEOs of corporations or whatever, and then they might be doing it. So like if you can get it down at the ground level, I think it's the best solution. Really for everything, but definitely for this. In this instance, like trying to get people to be more educated or just better people in whatever way you want to define that as, it works by influencing the ground level, I think, because then the ground level rises up to the top eventually just through time because people die off.
And I guess that's what we're trying to say is like, don't have the ones that were already got turned sleazy be the ones that are also teaching the next generation of like what to do. You know, it's like,
well, that just comes from taking the low hanging fruit of letting sleazy people train your kids. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say in that one.
I just had a great memory fucking bubble up to the surface. 1997, little John Allen's in like 6th grade. Some kid outside. I remember I was in trouble. I had to go to the vice principal's office, and I was waiting outside the vice principal's office, like the door, with a couple other kids, and they're like, "Hey, we're playing flip a dollar right here." And they started playing some fun game where like you just like flip this dollar and it like spins and whatever it lands on. It was like some sort of hustle game.
Yeah.
I got hustled out of $3 in under 10 seconds. I mean, I was bang, 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 and this kid would just mop me up. And I'm just sitting there like, damn, I ain't got no fucking lunch money.
But how do you, I mean, like, I can understand, like, the moving the cards around, sleight of hand, or you know,
I don't know,
flipping
maybe
a
he,
dollar.
hey,
Like,
look,
you can't game a coin flip.
I don't think he was trying to game it. I think he was just playing because he was addicted to the
Maybe,
fucking game
yeah.
and just wanted to win money. And he's just sitting there flipping dollars.
dude, in basic training, we built dice out of paper. We've origamied 2 little dice, put numbers, and we was in the bathroom running it up, bro. I'm talking like thousands of dollars, okay? Like, yeah, because we had all that basic training money builds up. You can't buy anything in basic, but you're getting paid, right? So we had guap. We would sneak out of our barracks, run across the street to the ATM, sneak out. That's base training. Like, what the fuck, dude? My parents are rolling right now just thinking about what we got away with. But anyways, we would go steal our own money from the ATM and then just run it up in the bathroom playing with paper dice. That's how bad we just looking for something, a thrill, you know, and it was fun. I mean, god damn, we was in there. Well, I would be in there all the time, clickety clack clack. It just pulls you. It's a good form of entertainment.
It wasn't really clicky clacking because it was
no,
paper.
it was like, but they were pretty thick. I mean, we built them up pretty thick. I don't know how they did it because, you know, you take a certain level of street that I wasn't on. I was one of the dupers that just walking by and it was like, hey, you want to get in on this? And I was like, oh yeah, that looks fun. You know, like having a good time. He's like, got some money? I was like, no. All right,
call that a market.
Go get some money. Go get your beret, run down across the street, hit the ATM, and come back. But to kind of close it up or wrap it up, I like where it's at right now. Right now, I like where it's at. Like, I like gambling in my society. I like you said, I'm never a fan of making black markets because we just see how messy that gets. You know, people's heads get chopped off and shit when you start doing that. So it's like, I like it, but I like it in the cities, like you said, like 3-4 spots. You know, places that we get it in, you know, but this idea of making it mainstream, putting it into the video games, bringing it to your sports, bringing it in, like, anybody can do it. Because in that documentary I was telling you about earlier, too, with the gambling thing, the statistic of your likeliness of gambling skyrockets if you live near a casino. Makes sense, of course, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like, the prompt is there, the availability is there. And so, and it was a staggering number, maybe 60%.
Huge amount of loopholes, too. Yeah. Look at the fish game.
Yeah.
People in North Carolina playing the fish game. That's
cool. Fine. Whatever. Like you said, but it's these small niche, like, you really got to work for it. I always like that for society. Like, whenever, because there are spices of life, the dark side of things, you know, the you know, getting fucked up. Like I said, could be a fun thing every now and then. Gambling a little bit, it's fun. It's all that. But keeping it in the little 10%, like, you really got to want it. Like, I liked when I really had to go to Vegas to make it happen. Like, I gamble 6 times more now living here than when I had to, like, go on vacation to make it happen.
That makes sense.
You know? So I like it out there, but I don't like it mainstream, man.
It's a case where exposure therapy does not work.
No. It's gonna get you because of the way it's designed. It's designed. It's all a trigger response created and stuff. So if that trigger's there, you just be driving home. You'd be like, just stop in and peel the wheel a couple times, see what happens.
Might be able to make some money.
Yeah, you come out of there, you're $400 down. You're trying to figure out how you're buying your kids groceries this weekend. You know, it's like, eesh, that sucks.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sitting over here and I'm like listening and I'm thinking and I'm like, I work at a casino 2 days a week. I walk past these motherfucking things all day. Never even crosses my mind.
Would you define yourself as a man with uncharacteristic levels of discipline, though? Like not an average level of discipline.
I'd say yes, but I was also the guy who was extremely lazy. Like, I would say I was lazier than the average person also. So it's like, I am disciplined now, but I don't know. Maybe it's like like a genetic thing? Like,
Well, because people get triggered differently. We did this in the whole nature versus nurture. Like some people can do coke all day, every day, and then be like, all right, I'm good. Some people one time, and that's it. You're a coke addict, like a motherfucker, you know? So, like, I feel you and your personal antidote, and there's tons of people out there, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I wasn't trying to discredit the fact that other people get that, but that's why I feel like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, fuck the dummies. Yeah. Like, whatever. You know, you're not going to get rid of them. Yeah. So at least make somebody profit off of them.
What's something?
But that's not really like that's not how I feel. But that's just kind of like thoughts that pop into my head. I'm like, well, if they're gonna be around, you might as well make some goddamn money off them.
They're gonna be dumb either way. You know,
yeah, like we're just gonna let that resources float all right on my way.
Like what's something that pushes your button that you like you don't want to do it, but then it grabs you and it makes you do it anyways.
Sweets.
Yeah. Like sweets. Like sometimes like you'd be like
pastries.
Like you get that feeling sometimes. Like I get this feeling sometimes where I'm just like a zombie all of a sudden. Like I'm like. The other day we went out. I was like, I'm not gonna smoke no cigarettes. Fuck that. I'm not gonna smoke no cigarettes. 30 minutes later, I was like,
that was me when I ran out of weed, and I was like, I'm gonna take the week off. You know, I'm gonna take the week off.
How did this happen?
3-4 days into that week, I got a black ball of fucking resin this big, and I'm like, I'm gonna smoke this.
I'm gonna smoke this
resin.
shit. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh, it was terrible. I should have not smoked at all. Like, why did I even?
But there's things that will do that to you. That will and you can fight them. I'm not saying that you have to. Like I've been in other instances where I was like, no, turn away from the light. But
again, like.
Oh, the cramp. Classic tie-dye moment. The rod cramp. We've only ever had this happen one other time. Classic. God, that was like episode 3 or 4. He just stopped and goes. It's like one of the funniest moments.
We'll put it in. We'll clip it in here if you haven't seen that episode.
Damn, that sucks. All right.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I don't know if we have that footage.
It might be on the internet somewhere. I mean, who knows?
Man, that came out of no. They just grab you. They just grab you. You just be sitting there in mid thought, and all of a sudden you feel it coming too, and you can't help but scream.
That's me and my foot. I get him in my bottom of my foot. My foot will just go flat like this. And I'll go,
no, don't
lock
you
it
do
straight out. And I'll be like, it's fine. I can relax my foot.
Nope.
One iota of relax, and it comes right back.
That's why I'm just like fully extended on the leg. I'm like, I am not pulling you backwards for nothing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe we should wrap it up there.
Yeah, we'll end on the cramp.
Yeah,
that's a good ending.
Yeah.
Takeaways, boys.
So talking about the Jeff Bezos thing, I had some good takeaways from that. Don't hate billionaires because they're trying to make the world better. I mean, yeah, they could make the world better here or in the ocean or in people's Amazon wish lists, and they probably are doing things like that.
True.
But that's their fucking money. I'm not a socialist. I'm not going to eat the rich. I'm not going to go tell them you get capped at $150,000 and the rest goes to the state.
Yeah.
Okay. So my takeaway from that is, let the boys play. God damn. Let them spend their money how they won't spend their money. Extremification of weather. My takeaway from that is we're fucked. We have to either leave the planet or stop burning dinosaurs. And even if we stop burning dinosaurs, we're still going to cut down trees. And even if we stop cutting down trees, we're still going to mine lithium ore. Whatever the fuck. We're going to fuck this planet up. We're parasites. You saw the ship. We're viruses. So, okay, like, it's going to get worse. We're going to have to eventually leave the planet. My only hope is that it takes a lot longer than I think it's going to take.
I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. Those are my sentiments, 100. But you did make up a good point that I didn't think of, and that was that you don't know. Like, the space is the thing that catches the headline because that's the edgy. But you don't know. Like you said, he might have just gave $200 million over there somewhere, and that didn't even hit a blip or a radar, you know? Yeah. So they might be doing those things that you like or want them to do, and you just might not be hearing about it. But even if they're not, they're doing something.
Yeah, don't wish death upon them. Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah. I get it. If you catch people doing really fucked up shit, like if they went and were, shuttling kids up into space to sex traffic them to aliens or something, then I get it. Go in when you see corruption. But when people are just doing something that you don't agree with, I think wishing death upon them is a little extra. A little extra. The weather thing got I hope we can figure it out, and I definitely always that's one thing I do. I keep it conscious in my mind. I love when we talk about it or when people bring it back to my consciousness. I used to get really defensive about it for some reason. Now I'm more like, lax, I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, maybe this is a thing. And I like to be conscious in my everyday of like, what can I do? Like, what can I do to just minimize my little footprint?
Yeah.
You know? And gambling is awesome in moderation.
Yes.
The moderation is harder, easier said than done.
Yeah.
Careful.
For me, I'll start with the gambling because I thought you made an interesting point when you were talking about billionaires. Like, you want to let the billionaires play with their money, but dummies, you don't want to let them play with their money. For some reason, that's somehow different. But anyway,
I'm very specific. It's the children and the gambling, like, introduced at a young age. That's kind of where my only real problem is with gambling. I morally don't think it's a problem. I just think that introducing it to children.
Because you were like, let the boys play.
Let the boys play.
Let the kids. So why can't I have my goddamn loot crate? Like, what the fuck?
Why can't my 13-year-old spin the wheel?
Jesus Christ. You're going to take blackjack out of the goddamn Red Dead Redemption game. Then what I'm going to do? As far as the Jeff Bezos thing, yeah, like I'm much more for Jeff Bezos spending his own money going to space than NASA doing it. Because I don't buy a lot of shit from Amazon anyway. So it's like I'm really not investing that much in Jeff Bezos' space travels. Yeah. But also, if I was going to invest in space travels, I certainly wouldn't give my money to the government because they're just really bad at that.
They sucked at it. They sucked it
at
up last
all
time.
the time.
Took them years and years and a lot of money.
Fucking so, that's. I mean, Jeff Bezos has a 100% success rate when it comes to sending people into space and returning them safely.
100.
You cannot say that about NASA.
100.
Now I know that that's statistically not relevant, but anyway, that's a joke. And as far as the extremification of weather, once again, maybe in the same vein as like the gambling thing, like I'm just not really too worried about it because it's not about me. Like if the fire comes through Nevada or there's like such a bad drought that we got to move, like, move and handle that when it comes through. But like, I'm not really, it's funny because like, I do a lot of, like I try to ride my bike as much as I can. I take a reusable straw with me. I do all these little things that like are in vogue now, like doing these small sustainable things. I have tons of tote bags so I don't have to use grocery bags and stuff. So it's like I do little things, but not because I'm like altruistic. I'm doing it because I don't like the idea of creating lots of waste and stuff like that. Like I want to be as self-sufficient as I can be.
It also seems sensible.
It's just sensible, yeah. Like, why throw stuff in the garbage if I don't have to,
it just makes sense to me.
But, like, I'm not doing it for, like, future generations. Like, I could give a fuck if the planet exploded the day after I die. Some people are like, but all the people you love that are still around. Like, well, they're also going to die at some point in time. So whether it happens after I die immediately or 10, 50 years later, that really means nothing to me at that point. It's like,
yeah, one at a time or all abrupt. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like, it's coming for everybody.
Hey, we're all getting uploaded anyways.
Yeah, damn.
I'm not gonna
I couldn't stop thinking about that movie idea this whole time when you were like talking about would you go to space and stuff. I'm like, man, it's a good script idea. But anyways, I'll leave that for another time. We'll unveil that plan one day in the future.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we really appreciate you hanging out with us, man, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.